Yep. Let's just see what kind of trouble I can get into here. Let's see. And we're gonna send this out to the Twitterverse. Oh, come on now, cooperate with me. Is live. Okay. And it might help if I spell it right there, 7th. Come on, son. You went to grade school. You can do it. There we go. Posty. Now we just gotta wait for the usual victims to show up, and we'll be ready to go here. Okay. Yeah, sure. Sure, legal. Sure. You completely misread that on purpose. Sure, legal. Sure. Alright. So, all that is done and over with. We got a decent amount in the old tank here. So, we just gotta wait for people to show up and start posting in the chat, and we can get this party started. In about 5 minutes, that is. Come on, y'all. Come on. Get on in here now. I ain't gonna wait forever. Y'all don't start showing up, I'm gonna think y'all don't want to watch. And I'm just gonna go play video games tonight. I can do that, you know. It is so bizarre. This is not a bald spot, okay? This is white hair. I have a little patch right on my lip that has decided that it's going to be white. And it makes me look like I cut a chunk out of my mustache. It's screwed up. Hi, Nicholas. Seventh, what genre game do you gravitate towards? RPGs? Yeah, RPGs and first-person shooters, third-person shooters, third-person action games, and big open-world sandbox-style games are mostly what I play. I dabble a little bit in racing games, but my taste is very specific. Basically, if it's not like Burnout Paradise, I don't want to play it. And I like platformers. But the one that I play the most is RPGs. You get the most bang for your buck out of RPGs. If I'm going through a situation where I don't have... Man, I keep looking at that and thinking that something is in my beard, and it's not. It's just this white patch. I got a white patch of fur right there. That's going to annoy me all night. That's going to annoy me all night. But, or should I say gray? Because in this camera, when I've already got like blue above me and red in front of me, it's making it look the same color as my skin, but it's not. There's hair there. Anyway, if I'm in a situation where I don't have a lot of money to buy something new, I have a plethora of RPGs sitting on my shelf that I haven't actually started or I've played very little of that I know I can get days and days of gameplay out of. You know, my whole backlog is basically built from the ground up so that if I run into, God forbid, I run into another situation like what happened to me in 2008, as long as I've got the electricity paid for and my rent, I at least have plenty of games that I can play without feeling like I'm missing out on anything. Thoughts on the Saints Row developer being shut down? Well, it's that it's that Joker meme, man. It's that Joker meme. You get what you deserve. You try to fundamentally change what the series is because the people who built it aren't at your company anymore, and you decide you're not going to live up to your own company's legacy, and then you crap on all the fans that don't like what you're doing with it. Hate to tell you. And let me tell you something else. You're going to start seeing that a lot more in this industry because people are getting tired of it. They're getting tired of getting preached at. They just want to escape the real world and play a game. And when they come into the real world and the same crap that's annoying them in the real world is in the game too, you're going to start losing people left and right. If you don't believe me, look at what's happening to Disney right now. That ought to tell you everything you need to know about what happened to Saints Row. And any other company that tries to follow in their example, like Rockstar, for example, there were rumors that Rockstar was going to go in the same direction with Grand Theft Auto 6 that the new Saints Row did. If that's true, oh boy. Let's see here. We're going to actually get started in a minute here. I was just waiting for more people to show up. Starfield is not it. Not saving grace for Xbox or Microsoft games. Below minute. Yeah. This is yet another day where I did not blow dry my hair. I let it naturally dry. So now I look like Fat Metal Jesus. Oh, Lord. Now, there's one that I've never met. I've never met Metal Jesus. Bill, the amount of stuff that's in the new Saints Row, that's way beyond fiddling with it, okay? The whole game is that way. It's not just a couple of lines of dialogue. It's the whole game. I wouldn't try to pass it off on THQ Nordic. THQ Nordic releases plenty of games that doesn't have any of that mess in it. Plenty. Anyway, it's 6 o'clock. It's Saturday, September 9th, 2023. And this is the 7thCast. As always, I'm your venerable host, your friendly neighborhood 7th. 8th is at work, but thankfully one of his friends is going to be driving home today. And so, what have I been doing this week? Well, one, I've been working on the script for episode 4 of Trey for Life, which will hopefully be coming out Monday. I am kind of strapped right now because at the same time, I'm still in long-term training for this new position that I took at my job, and I am getting everything prepared for going to Retropalooza, which, by the way, I've appreciated the help, but it doesn't look like it's going to get me there. I'm basically just going to be going there to meet with friends because I'm not going to have a whole lot spending money. It's just not going to happen. So, anything that you can send that to help will help, but we are still like $160 away from the original goal. And about $50 of what you guys have donated was donated through the Super Chat, which means that it has to get up to $100, that account, before YouTube will pay me anything. And even then, they'll wait to the end of the month to send it to me, at which point I'll already be back. So, it is what it is, man. I'll try to be better prepared in April when the next one happens. All I'm going to be able to really afford is the hotel and maybe a couple of $5 NES carts, unless I sell some stuff. I was intending to go there with the hopes of picking up a copy of Mighty Final Fight, but it's up around $300 now, so actually maybe even more than that. I don't know. And so it's not looking like that's going to happen. I was hoping to turn that into a video, my hunt for Mighty Final Fight, but it's not going to happen, I don't think. Not unless I tap into the credit cards again, and I've been trying to pay those off. I don't really want to do that. I've started to make some headway, and I don't really want to throw them right back up there. So, let's see here. Y'all already spamming the chat before we've even gotten into the main topic of discussion. Let me catch up with everybody real quick, and then we'll go. Hi, Master Chief. What's good, 7? I'll be playing Spyro Reignited Trilogy tonight for his 20th anniversary. I have it, but I haven't played it that much. I was expecting a DBTS on the new Saints Row. We didn't even pick... I picked it up for like $15 as a gag gift for 8th for Christmas. And he's never played it, and I haven't either. The last Pixar movie I honestly liked was Coco. Same here. I haven't liked any since Coco. I mean, there were elements of Onward that I liked, but for the most part, I didn't care for it. Trey for life, baby, or baby. Does 8th understand or have an opinion on all the 7th gen console wars in the Trey Brotherhood? The complexity is a lot hard to follow. Who is who? 8th was involved in it. I mean, he was just a little thing, but he was watching his dad have all this fun, and he wanted to be involved in one way or the other. And so there are vids where 8th took part. I only have one of them left, but at some point I'll show it. He understood that we were, as he understood it, we were arguing for fun, was the way that I described it to him. Arguing for fun. And making little skits to make people laugh. And at his age, he was maybe 6 or 7. At his age, that's how he understood it. So. Hi, Chris. How many more episodes left? However many it takes. However many it takes. Right now, I'm only focused on the Trey, on the El Presidor side of it. Once I get to the point where, this particular season, for lack of a better word, will end at when the leadership gets passed to me. And that's where this season will end. And then I will make the decision after that whether I want to get into the whole N-Dub Nation and all that. Because once we get to the N-Dub Nation, there was still, people throwing up Trey for life and all this stuff, but there weren't that many that were on the PlayStation side that were making vids besides me and a couple of others. And so it was mostly me because once the Civil War thing happened, most of the people that were still, doing the whole Trey for Life thing were keyboard warriors. Because, Rev quit doing it, Dumars quit doing it, Hellhound quit doing it, Truth tried to start his own thing and people didn't buy into it. Real GTA was gone because he flashed his privates in a video. The Humpmaster went rogue and was doing his own thing. General G was still making videos, but he was still working with me on stuff, but he wasn't doing the He wasn't doing the Trey for life thing anymore at that point. So it was mostly me and the keyboard warriors, the thousands of keyboard warriors that were out there at the time. I mean, there were still a few that were doing it, but not to the level that I was at that point. What's shaking, Bacon? Hello, I'm at work right now and watching. Okay. Maybe a gracious benefactor will appear. I highly doubt that, Bill. I highly doubt that. I have learned over the years to not ask for or expect miracles. When someone shows up, they just show up out of pure random. Let's see. Thanks for streaming. You're welcome. I wish I had disposable income. Yeah, it's not that time. It's that time of year, man. I'll donate 5,000 G in April if I could save up. What is 5,000 G? What do you do with your money? You have a full-time job, man, and shitloads of toys and games. You obviously ain't broke. Uh-oh. Well, first of all, Stevie boy, I am not demanding donations in exchange for anything. I'm not Dark Side Phil. I'm saying, hey, this is the current situation. If you want to help out with creating some content, here's how you can do it. Otherwise, the content that I had planned for Retropalooza isn't going to happen. Yes, I have a full-time job, and yes, I make a good salary. However, what I don't have at my employer is medical coverage that's worth a crap because they do PPO instead of HMO. And so when I have unexpected health problems that crop up, which are often, I end up having to foot more of the bill than I anticipate, and it puts me behind on things. Is that good enough of an answer for you, Stevie? You don't have to answer that because I don't really care, but I was being more rhetorical, but let's see here. 8th is doing just fine, health-wise. I didn't do a DBTS on Division 2 because I never played Division 2. I did a DBTS on Division 1. Seventh has long hair. Where you been, Lord Orfeo? Where you been? I used to have a Trey Brotherhood banner on my old YouTube channel. Yeah, there was a lot of guys in the Brotherhood that were big on making artwork and doing the whole branding thing that I've discussed. We also had a couple of guys that were big on making kind of propaganda style videos too. There was a guy called Crusader of Sony that used to make these. He eventually changed his name to Brotherhood of Sony because people kept flagging him. But he used to make these propaganda videos about all of us, and those were pretty funny. And Xbox had one too. Xbox had one of these propaganda guys. He was called Dude of the Ages, and he made several of those as well. It's called American Debt, sir. You're not wrong. What's the difference between the Trey Brotherhood and the Crumb Side? Trey Brotherhood was a bunch of fanboys trying to prove their, justify their purchase, mixed in with a bunch of trolls that were there to have a laugh. Crumb Side was a bunch of people trying to make money off of YouTube, trying to turn it into a career. And so since you... that and a bunch of guys that were wannabe gangsters that were constantly threatening real-world injury upon each other. And it was Hard 8 Times that designated it as the Crumb Side after seeing some of the behavior that was going on in the community. And so what started out as trolling and debating and whatnot turned into corporate shills that wouldn't step out of their little comfort zone to try to prove the points they were making, and created all these little hug boxes that their fans would go hide in. And the rest of them were just, arguing and threatening each other, and what's your address? I'm coming to your house, and this kind of foolishness. I've been on my PS2 a lot lately. I recently beat Red Dead Revolver. Yeah, Red Dead Revolver is a pretty good game. Not bad, not bad. What up, 7th? Same old thing, Nick. Same old thing. Same old, same old. But yeah, you're never going to see me. You guys got to remember something, okay? I don't do this for a living. I have never attempted to do YouTube for a living. I do this for fun, as a side project, something to kill time, something to an outlet for my creative endeavors that I don't get from gaming. And so, along with that comes the fact that I don't do sponsorships. I never have. The only thing I have monetized is pure AdSense. I don't have a Patreon. Some of you recently expressed interest in me doing a membership thing and having a monthly private movie watching party where we all sit and watch a movie together, and you get membership to that for $1 a month. Some of y'all have expressed interest in that. Anything that does get donated, it's just a matter of basically a tip jar that folks recognize that I'm doing this in my own free time where I could be doing other things. I could be writing a book. I could be working on music. I could be doing all these other things, but I'm doing this because I know I have an audience that's been following me for 14 years. And that's the basic gist of it. I could be doing God knows anything. Certainly nobody else that's still around from the community had any interest in drumming up things from the Trey Brotherhood era. But I did this because I thought this would be something you guys would want to watch. It takes all day of editing to make one of those. So ever since I started this, half of my weekend is instantly gone because I'm taking all day to make that video so you guys have it the following Monday. And so that's what I'm going to be doing all day tomorrow, is putting together episode 4 so that you guys have it to watch on Monday. I don't make any money off of that. What comes in on AdSense, you're talking, one video might make me $1, maybe. Because, I don't get the views that I got back in the 2013 to 2016 time frame. So, while I do not in any way require anybody to donate to be able to watch anything that I do, like Trey Brotherhood or whatever, Trey for Life, it helps. It helps in a number of ways. So much of this equipment that you see in here was purchased with donations from you guys, including this desk, this chair, that camera, some of the other equipment, some of the hard drives that I have here, this microphone, was all bought with donations from you guys. Wasn't bought with YouTube ad money. Just saying. There's never, with the one exception of when, without asking me, Infinite Retro opened a donation thing because of the fact that my house had been robbed and I didn't even have, so much of my stuff was stolen. aside from that, there's never been a time where anyone has donated money to me and it's gone just to something I wanted or gone to pay a bill or anything like that. It's always it's always either something that's needed for the show or something that I want to do new for the show. The one exception to that was when 8th's laptop was stolen, and I asked everybody to help raise money to get him a new laptop for his school. But even then, that was years and years ago when I wasn't making the kind of money that I make now either. And so things were even harder back then. So, trying to imply that I'm a grift or something like that is a little bit much there, Stevie boy. The 7th, is squatting still as common as it used to be? I don't think so. Not after those that swatting event accidentally got like a neighbor shot, and because they went to the wrong house and he got killed or whatever. And the guy that did that SWAT, there's been like 2 or 3 people that have gone to prison over pulling the swatting stunt. So it's not as big a thing as it used to be, but the one thing you can always count on is that the world is full of idiots. And so there definitely will be someone else out there eventually dumb enough to try to pull that stunt. And the last time I was around you was on Twitch. Man, I haven't been on Twitch in a couple of years. Do you think Fat Gamer was knowledgeable about gaming? No. Not especially. 7th, have you had a chance to try Sea of Stars? Not yet. Yes, YouTube has changed drastically. I have played a few hours of Octopath Traveler, but I haven't finished it. Can we have a hint as to what's going to be on part 4 of the documentary? This is when we're going to start actually getting into the sagas. Each major battle, I'm calling it a saga. So you've got, the Samuel the Geek saga, the Reston saga, the El Baracho saga, the Zephyrnik saga. Some of them I'll be able to do several in one episode in some cases, because some of them were either very brief or there's not enough video footage of them remaining out there to amount to enough for one video just on that saga. So there's the false flagging saga, where I get into President and all that. There will be one that's just strictly about MLD and how things played out with MLD over time. Just, there's gonna be several more episodes just for this season, and it just depends on how long it takes me to get up to the point where Prez is out and I'm unwittingly shoved into that role. So it'll take me a while to get there, but I'll get there. I can't say for sure how many episodes it'll take. I don't want episodes to be as long as the episode last week was. I'd like to keep it within a 30-minute range. So it's basically how much can I cram into 30 minutes or less. The more I can cram into 30 minutes or less, the fewer episodes there will be, but the more content will be featured in those episodes. I've read a little bit of William Gibson. I'm not like a mega fan. Sorry about what you went through. Everybody goes through stuff, man. It just is what it is. I remember when 7th hired a moving company to come to Texas. That was a debacle too. Yeah, they destroyed like more than half of my stuff. They literally destroyed more than half of my stuff. It was a mess. I had to go into credit card debt again to replace everything because I didn't have the cash to do it out of pocket. And a lot of that is the credit card debt that I'm still paying off today. I had to rebuy a lot of stuff. P.S. As far as I understood episode 3, including your video impersonating killing General MLD, wasn't it too much? Especially that potentially some mentally deranged person might have seen it. Well, some mentally deranged person could go and rent a horror movie off of Amazon Prime. You know, should we not have movies available just in case there's a nut job watching it? That wouldn't be very fun now, would it? The reason I included that was because MLD himself didn't remember that skit anymore, or wasn't actually sure if he had ever seen it or not. And so I put it in there so he could see it. He had fun with it. Spider-Man 2, I can't wait to play. I'm not in any rush to play it. I've got lots of other stuff in my backlog I want to get to. I'll get it when it comes out, but it'll probably be 8th playing it before me. It's a shame that General G's video on Uncharted 2 winning Game of the Year back in 2009 wasn't archived. A lot of his stuff wasn't archived. There's not that much of General G out there. I'm letting y'all know that right now. For fans of General G that are expecting to see lots of him on this show, it's not going to happen because there's not much of his left. There's like 2 or 3 small handful of videos, and even then, most of them are the later stuff when he was fighting with Humpmaster Flex. Some of his really old stuff isn't on there. Almost everything that's left are videos he did on Humpmaster Flex. El Presidor doesn't respond to anybody anymore. For the most part, he just starts a live stream and sets his phone down where he's not even watching what the comments are, and you see him off in the distance fishing. That's what he does now. He doesn't respond to comments. And it's not like I have his phone number or his email address. And besides which, Chris, it's like I said before, with him being the way he is, I highly doubt that he even remembers me. Yes, I played Spider-Man Web of Shadows back in the day. I was not a big fan. Not a big fan at all. I called the moving company, but the insurance that they had on the stuff only covered like $500 of it. Truth Setting You Free never became the head of the Trey Brotherhood. He split off from the Trey Brotherhood and tried to start his own thing. This concept of a gamers union with Glock Ninja and Laren Von Varen. There was some talk of him trying to take it over, like having his fan base was constantly reaching out to other members of the Brotherhood, trying to tell them to abandon it and come sign on with Truth. And that was really the main reason why El Presidor said, you know what, I'm giving it to 7th level and I'm getting out of this because I'm just tired of it. And, I want to give Truth one last pisser. I want to piss in his Wheaties one last time. And nothing's going to do that more than handing it over to 7th because Truth is already pissed at 7th as it is for not taking his side. And so that's what happened. El Presidor tells me first in a PM that he's going to do that. I try to talk him out of it. Doesn't work. And without any kind of warning or advance notice of when it was going to happen, he posts a video that was literally titled, "The 7th level is the new leader of the Trey Brotherhood," and it was him standing in front of his little cardboard podium talking about me being the new leader, and he was going on to other things, blah, 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 and that was it. And he left it up for 1, maybe 2 weeks, and then he deleted it. And then when that happened, I made a video after I'd resolved myself to the fact that this had actually happened, called the State of the Trey Address, explaining how I was going to run things and how things were going to work, and we had a lot of different things. We had tournaments. We had trophy prizes like anyone. I would name a platinum trophy, and the first person to prove to me that they had earned that platinum trophy within a 30-day period, I'd send them $20. That kind of thing. Just little contests here and there, or a $20 PSN gift card, whatever. And it went that way for a while, and eventually I started to lose interest in it because there wasn't. It was becoming harder and harder to find people that were decent to debate with or to go back and forth with, and the whole NW Nation thing started to pick up steam, and I've messed around with that for a little while. But then, after I did what I did to Black Baron, all of that just kind of died instantly. And so really, I made that video review of the Xbox One, and it went viral. And I thought to myself, well, I'm never going to hit these kind of numbers again. I'd like, if I'm going to get out of this whole Trey Brotherhood thing, I'm going out on a high note. And so after that video just kind of exploded, that's when I just dropped the whole Trey Brotherhood thing and started doing reviews instead. Somebody already asked me about Sea of Stars. Yes, I remember. Of course, I remember the story about a doctor hiring a hitman to off my father. Of course, I remember that. Why would you think I'd forget? Favorite, I think you meant Jean, as in Jean. Jean-Claude, not John. Probably Universal Soldier. Maybe Time Cop. Although some of the effects in Time Cop have not aged well. Are there any other games coming out this year besides Spider-Man 2 that you're... Not really. Not really a whole lot left on the excitement factor. Do you like chili dogs? Well, it's not my favorite thing, but, if somebody offers me one, I'll eat it. Missed the start of the stream, so you may have talked about this. Thoughts on Starfield? I haven't actually gotten to it yet, because before I could start talking about Starfield, everyone just kind of instantly laid in on the question, so I haven't actually gotten to discuss it yet. How did the 360 sell well despite having the red ring of death? Well, for one thing, people buying new 360s because Microsoft was requiring you to ship yours away in a box. They'd send you a box, so you had to wait for the box. Then you had to ship it back to them. Then you had to wait for them to fix it. Then they'd send it back to you, and it would go out again. And so people were like going through this vicious cycle of sending it back, sending it back, sending it back. So a lot of people just started buying Xboxes over again. There were some folks out there who had 4 or 5 Xboxes, and they were just cycling through sending them back. It was ridiculous. Yes, I've worked in retail. I've talked about working in retail. It's a shame GTA will no longer have a competitor now that Volition is gone. Well, hopefully somebody else will step into that. I like the clip of Rev saying that he pisses $50 a year. Yeah, that video and the way that Dumars was acting, that was actually a response to a video that Truth had made called The Definition of an Xbot. And it was so ridiculous because it was basically, if you have ever used any Microsoft product ever, you're an Xbot. It was, everyone made fun of him over that video. And I don't know if he was trying to troll or what he was doing with it, but one thing about trolling is that even if you don't mean it and you're doing it for a reaction, it's typically better not to do something that makes you look dumb. What was your best review? Best viewed review was that Xbox One review. It got over 1 million views. As far as which one is best in the term, and as far as content goes, that would be up to you guys, not me. Did you like Judge Dredd? I didn't really read the comic that much when I was a kid. I dabbled in it. I had a few graphic novels. I've liked both of the movies for totally different reasons. What's your favorite zombie film? Probably Return of the Living Dead 2, because it just cracks me up every time I watch it. Yes, the AI in Starfield definitely sucks. A lot of times they'll just stand there while you shoot them. They'll just stand there staring at the floor while you pump bullets into them, whether you've got stealth or not. I think I only got into chili dogs as a kid because I watched Sonic eat them. Well, okay then. Alrighty then. Anyway, Starfield. Look. It's not that I hate the game. It's not that I'm even saying that it's a bad game. Okay? I'm not saying it's a bad game. I'm saying it's your typical Bethesda game. It's not some, industry-changing, revolutionary thing, okay? It's a Bethesda game. It plays just like a Bethesda game, and they've tacked on shipbuilding and really basic space combat. You're not going to get the kind of space combat that you'd get in No Man's Sky or in, what's the name of that game? There's been 2 or 3 of them now. I can't remember the name of it, but it's this big open galaxy RPG, and you can buy and sell ships, and you can maintain them and get into space combat. It's not even as good as something from the 90s, like Colony Wars. It's not even that good. It's very basic, and in fact, no matter how fast or how slow you have the engine set, the sense of movement is not really and base building too. The sense, although technically base building was in Fallout 4, but it sucked in Fallout 4. The sense of movement is not really there. So, and even so, until you get a lot of perks and whatnot, you don't want to be blasting your engines full speed when in a dogfight anyway, because it'll just make it to where you can never bank sharply enough to hit them. So I have found that the best way to do these dogfights is to cut my engines in half and just slowly drift along, and as they fly over me, I'll shoot them direct on and just take the hits to my shield, and as they fly over me, I tilt up and I just belt them right in the belly. And I take them out that way. I blow them up. It doesn't take a whole lot of skill. I have yet to run into a dogfight that I've lost, except for once, and that's because the frame rate started stuttering real bad. Like freeze frame, get a couple of stilted things. Freeze frame, couple of stilted things, and then the game crashed. Right as I got blown up because I couldn't move, the game crashed back to the Xbox menu, and I had to completely reboot the game. I've only had that one crash. Normally by now with a Bethesda game I would have had several, which is why I've gotten into the habit of every time I go in and out of a door, every time I finish a mission, every time I find a piece of rare loot, I save. I save constantly. Save. And 8th has had it even worse. 8th was playing it on PC, and he got 5 hours into it, and the game was just performing so badly that at one point, the game crashed. He tried to come back in. It had corrupted his save file. So he loaded a save file, losing 5 hours of game time. And when he loaded that one back up, he couldn't move. And so finally, after fiddling around, he figured out that if he took his helmet off and put it back on, it would unlock him. He made it back to New Atlantis, and the frame rate was 5 frames per second. And he was like, I don't like this game enough to warrant doing this to myself. And so he shut it off and he deleted it. And he hasn't played it since. Now I haven't had that bad of experience, but I'm playing it on Xbox Series X, and it's not like 8's PC is a slouch. You know, it's got 32 gigs of RAM. It's got a 3080 in it. And pretty much anything else that he wants to run, he can run it at like 100 frames per second or more. But this game, he couldn't get consistent 60 frames, even turning everything down to half. So it's just your typical broken game from Bethesda on PC, where they have gotten accustomed to just releasing it however it happens to be, lying about how it's optimized for PC, and then letting the fan base release mods that fix all the things that they didn't bother to fix. It's the same shit they've been doing for years. And so my point with Starfield, because I've been talking about it on Twitter, wasn't that it was a DBTS or anything like that. It was just that, you know, you guys are making this out to be some revolutionary thing that's going to change the gaming industry forever. And it's still Fallout 4 with Mass Effect style space navigation and exploration. That's what it is. In fact, you could almost say that it's their version of Outer Worlds, because that's what it plays like. It plays like Outer Worlds. But it's not as colorful as Outer Worlds, and it's not as funny as Outer Worlds. No, not Star Citizen. I can't remember the name of it. It's not Stellarium or anything else that would sound like a space game. It almost, I want to say it starts with a letter E or something. I can picture the box in my head. I just can't remember the name of it. Elite Dangerous. Elite Dangerous is the one I was thinking of. People are applauding the mission design and the storyline. The storyline is basically Skyrim in space, you know, because they don't understand why you're able to touch these artifacts and have these visions. They don't understand why you are acquiring these super duper space powers that only one of them I've even found to be useful so far. You know, it's Skyrim is the storyline, basically. But instead of going around and collecting all these dragon shouts so you're powerful enough to kill the main dragon, you're going around finding these space powers so that you can fight or try to overcome the Starborn or whatever. And, you know, I haven't made up my mind yet if the Starborn are aliens or if they're humans from the future and they're trying to stop us from doing something that messes their future up. I haven't made up my mind yet. I've heard that interest in No Man's Sky is increasing as people are becoming No Man's Sky has gotten more and more popular since it came out, because nowadays it's actually what people wanted it to be and didn't get. So that's the real deal there. That's the real deal there. It's finally what... Ow. Pulled something. I pulled something there. Ow. It's finally what people wanted it to be and didn't get. And now that it is so big that it's kind of become this phenomenon, people aren't all that impressed with No Man's Sky. No, not so that impressed with Starfield, because Starfield promised the world but doesn't do even half the stuff that No Man's Sky does. And people say, well, it's not fair to compare it to No Man's Sky because No Man's Sky is a different kind of game. Well, if you didn't want people comparing it to No Man's Sky, then Starfield shouldn't have borrowed mechanics from No Man's Sky in the first place and acted like it was some new innovative thing. Because that's what's really brought a lot of the ire towards it more than anything else. Is the fact that, they put out these presentations talking about how great and wonderful all these new features are. And yeah, they're new features in a Bethesda game, but they're not new features to gamers because they've already been playing them in multiple other games. But Bethesda is coming across like, look at this great, wonderful new thing we invented. And that's part of what has pissed a lot of people off. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. Ow. The hell? Got this stinging pain right in the crown. Right there. I don't know what I did to it. It hurts. Hurts like a bitch. Oh well. It's one of the signs of getting old, my friends. You start getting these random weird pains everywhere. And so now, I guess, on top of everything else, I got to worry about on the top of my head. Maybe my former bald head is rebelling about the fact that I grew my hair back in. I don't know. Whatever. I don't remember what GPU it has currently. I don't remember. Do you remember that zombie movie where the protagonist's girlfriend changed into a zombie and had to control her hunger? That was Return of the Living Dead 3. It was direct-to-video. Is Skyrim better than Starfield? To me, it's better because I like the story better and I like exploration better. In Skyrim, you could be walking along, right? And you're headed towards a specific destination. And just by pure happenstance, you stumble into a cave. And that cave was not on the map. And suddenly you're in this vast underground city that just stretches on and on. You make it past the first few caverns and you look up and like the ceiling of this cave is like 1,000 feet high and all this, and you had no idea it was there. And you just happened upon it. That sense of exploration and that sense of awe of happening across something like that is not in Starfield, because it marks for you on the map all the points of interest when you go to a planet. So there is no just landing on a random spot on a planet and finding some huge big thing. You're going to find the same randomized stuff every time you do that. You're going to find a landing base or something of that nature, and it's going to be the same landing base that you find over and over and over again, because they didn't really build that many randomized assets for these 1,000 planets. So is it 1,000 planets big? Yeah, but the vast majority of them just have this tiny little pocket of it that you can walk around on, and it has the same small handful of things sorted around and randomized around, but it's the exact same layout. Over and over and over again. You can even watch you can watch Wood's video, Beat 'em Ups. He just did a video about Starfield. He shows you all of that, if you don't want to believe me. So far, most of the main story of Starfield is we've been hunting for these artifacts and we don't know what they do. Let's go find more of them. That's really it. That's really it. And there's these guys that you're not sure what they are. You think they're aliens that are trying to stop you from collecting all these artifacts. So far, that's it. And I'm like 25 hours into it, I think. Everything else, yes, the shooting is a little bit improved. It's a little bit better. Not by much, not really. Not by much, but it's a little bit better than it was in Fallout 4. But basically, if you've played Fallout 3, Fallout 4, and Skyrim, and especially if you've played Outer Worlds, you've already played Starfield. It's the exact same game with a Star Trek-ish skin laid over it. That's what it is. Hell, even the shipbuilding, obviously it's a lot more graphically intensive, but what the shipbuilding reminds me of more than anything else is building your gummy ship in Kingdom Hearts. Going to that little Chippendale shop and changing all the pieces around to make your new gummy ship. That's what shipbuilding in Starfield reminds me of, although obviously it's a lot less graphically impressive to build a gummy ship, but that it's the same general mechanics. Living Legend, I think the problem in regards to optimization is it's not even so much that it's an old engine, it's that it's a crap engine that they should have gone back to the drawing board on years ago. Because it just can't, it's never been fully bug tested and fixed. And the thing of it is, every time they start a new game, they start a new iteration of that engine, but they don't pull over the fixes that they put into the previous one to fix the issues with the previous game. It's like, starting back at square one, but they've, improved this or improved that, but they don't carry across the bug fixes that they did for the previous game. So guess what? The next game has those bugs all over again. Now, the bugs that I've seen, they don't happen as often as they did with Fallout 4 when Fallout 4 came out, but they are still there. And it's a problem. It is a serious problem. And people just keep making excuses for them. And people keep buying their games. So what motivation does Bethesda have to do any better of a job when people keep buying the game no matter how broken it is? All of this is the illusion of innovation and the illusion of grand scale. But if you were to take everything on those barren planets and you were to take the maps that actually exist on the story-based planets you have and condensed it all onto one map, I'm willing to bet that it wouldn't be any bigger than the Skyrim map or the Fallout 4 map. I'd be willing to bet. Because I've been to several of the story missions. And I've been to several of the towns. Aside from the one town in New Atlantis, they're not that big. And even New Atlantis it's not one big sprawling city. It's made to look like it when you land on it, but it's actually split into chunks. And you have to take a train to get to the different parts of it. And, at least if you could make it to where you're riding the train and you could see the size of the city from outside the window or whatever, maybe that would further the illusion of it. But really, all of the city of their biggest city ever is just $20 from Living Legend. Thank you, Living Legend. I appreciate that, sir. Thank you so much. But it's not really their biggest city ever. It's 4 average-sized Fallout maps chunked together with a loading screen of traveling on a train. That's what it is. And so if you took all these maps, all of these different, bases and levels that you have to go through to kill all the bad guys and all this stuff, and you stuck it all on one map, it would fit on the Fallout 4 map. Or on the Fallout 76 map, for that matter. They have taken what is essentially the same amount of gameplay, tried to pad it with these mostly empty planets, but it's the same amount of gameplay that you'd get in a typical Fallout game, but they've put it on different planets instead of one map where you can walk from one side to the other and just happen to find stuff. Instead of having real discovery and real exploration, of being able to just be on one corner of the map, set a marker all the way on the other corner of the map, and just find what you find. Instead, everything is split up into these little planets, and you go to the planet and it'll have one main map that's the main story objective map, and then it might have a couple of plants that you can go do as an option, but it's the same general 4 or 5 plant layouts that you find on these randomized planets. It's an illusion of size. It's your typical Bethesda game, and they're playing smoke and mirrors to make it look bigger than it actually is. That's what it is. And so, if you loved Fallout 3, and you kind of dug Fallout 4, and you loved Skyrim, you will love Starfield. If you have gotten tired of the same old thing from Bethesda, you're not going to have some rebirth of your love of Bethesda from this game, because it's the same thing. And anyone that says, oh, well, after you get to 12 hours, suddenly it opens up and it's just this amazing thing. No, it's the same thing that Bethesda has always been. It's the same thing. And if you were satisfied with the same thing, you will love this. If you were hoping for some earth-shattering advancement and new evolution of Bethesda, that's not what this is. They want you to think it is, but it's not what it is. So no, it is not a bad game. If you like that style of game, it is a fun game. But it's not the next evolution of gaming. Not even close. Have you played Chorus? I played it. I didn't really like it, but I played it. The diet toothpaste bit in Outer Worlds is there's a lot of stuff in Outer Worlds that's hilarious, and that's another thing. There's not near as much of your typical Bethesda humor in this game. I mean, it really strikes me like they were sniffing their own farts with this game, because it's way more serious than the previous ones. Oh, you'll get a little one-liner here and there, but it's nowhere near on the level of Skyrim or Fallout. Not even close. This really feels like they were trying to pull in the Star Trek crowd. That's what it feels like. And we're not talking about new Star Trek. We're not talking about J.J. Abrams' trilogy. We're not talking about Strange New Worlds where, there's a joke every 10 or 15 minutes. And at least with Strange New World, the jokes are good. Not like with Discovery. No, this is more like Star Trek The Next Generation with most of the humor gone. Seventh, Tokes is in the house. Let's talk about it. Starfield. Well, again, it's not garbage. It's just nothing new. It's not even something bigger. It's just your regular, average Bethesda game with shipbuilding and kind of crappy dogfighting. That's it. That's all it is. That's all it is. Did you play any VR games? I really enjoyed Hitman 3. I play VR every now and again, but I'm not like this mega fan of it. 8th is more into it than I am. Thoughts on the Wolfenstein games? They were good, and then they ruined it with Youngblood. Redfall has backwards walking vampires. That's not all that's wrong with Redfall. I mean, really, the only way to have fun with Redfall is to play it online with somebody else and have a good time laughing at how bad it is. That's what Redfall is. And anyone that tries to convince you otherwise is fanboying. And yes, that includes New Legal. But I never thought that game looked that compelling. You can play No Man's Sky. Yes, you can play No Man's Sky in VR. Are you going to play No Man's Sky? I don't have any motivation to play No Man's Sky because I platted it back when it first came out and it barely had any content to it. I don't know if they've added more trophies to it or not, but I'm not exactly motivated to get back into it when I already have that platinum trophy sitting there. 7th level, you slick back to the side, Jack. Yeah, well, I never went bald, as you can clearly see, but, my hairline did recede. Not as bad as Humpmaster's did, though. Kilimanjaro forehead. Dude, if Solid Rev had a Kilimanjaro forehead, you got frickin' Mount Everest, because your forehead now goes all the way to the back of your crown. Yours stretches all the way back here, son. You know what I call that? Karma. Ha ha ha! Humpmaster Flex. Making fun of middle-aged men's hair. And now he ain't got shit. He's rocking that reversed mohawk. The grand middle-aged horseshoe. That's your comeuppance, son. Nothing personal, but, I'm going to take a bite out of that crime. Hello Games didn't run away with the money when No Man's Sky first came out. They actually improved. Exactly. Are you excited for Star Wars Outlaws? Not especially. I'm kind of done with Star Wars. I gotta be honest. Have you ever watched the original Dawn of the Dead? Of course I have. Didn't you say Champions of Norath was super underrated? It and its sequel. I saw someone was making an achievement set for it, so I'm definitely going to check it out when it gets it. Oh, Champions of Norath is fantastic. Seventh, do you believe in aliens? I am undecided on that. I have my theories. I just find it very hard to believe that an alien race that lives, hundreds or thousands of light years away from here could be so advanced that they invent technology that masters interstellar travel, and then they come out here and crash all over the United States, so that the United States has, God knows how many of their wrecked ships lying in hangars. I find that very hard to believe. I mean, after the first one crashed, you would think that they would think, maybe it's not a good idea for us to come out to this planet till we figure out what happened to Boogelschnork and Lager, Let's figure out what happened to them and let their families have some closure before we send any more poor schlubs out to planet Earth. But no, they just keep coming out here and crashing. I find that very hard to believe. I haven't played Baldur's Gate 3 yet because I'm saving up for Retropalooza. I'll end up getting Baldur's Gate sometime after I'm back. The first thing I'll have to do is, replenish my fun money fund, because it'll all be gone. There's hardly anything in there as it is. And $300 of it is going to have to go to paying for the hotel room for 2 nights. The way you're talking about Starfield sounds like Spider-Man will be the better game. That's subjective. That depends on which one you prefer the style of gameplay. Fun fact, in Starfield, it has the same issue with the ship builder Kingdom Hearts does, where if you make your ship a square, enemies always shoot towards the middle of your ship so they'll miss. Yeah, I saw a meme about that, where some guy had basically built like a hollow Rubik's Cube as his ship in Starfield, and none of the ships could hit it because there was nothing in the middle, and they always aim for the middle. I doubt we'll see another Saints Row. Todd Howard says upgrade your PC, but even 4090s are having the same problems. It's not the PC, it's the game, it's the engine. Todd Howard is full of crap, and he's been full of crap for years. If I was Phil Spencer, I would stand up and take Todd Howard to task. If Phil Spencer, if you're really for the gamer, if you're really for us, then take a stand and chew Todd Howard the F out. Chew him out. Make them stop whatever it is they're doing right now and build a decent engine, or buy another one and never use the Creation Engine again. For God's sake. Living Legend had a question for his $20. Have you played Velocity 2X on the Vita? Insanely underrated, one of the best tech showcases of the Vita. It amazed me how Future Lab shows Vita is capable of by not watering down and running. Velocity 2. Is that like a shooter? Like a space shooter? Like a virtual, not a virtual, but a vertical. I want to say it was like some kind of a vertical shooter thing. Had a girl on the cover of it. If so, yes, I've played it. If you were a dedicated achievement trophy hunter since the 360 PS3 era, should your achievement score be in the hundreds of thousands and trophy score be at least 500? My trophy score is like, my trophy level is like 550 something, like 552, 556. I can't remember exactly. I've got 170 something plats. My Xbox score is just 150,000, like 148, 150,000, something like that, because, you know, admittedly, I play Xbox, but I have not played as much Xbox as I have played PlayStation, because PlayStation is my preferred platform. It's just is what it is, fellers. You're going to have more achievements or trophies on the system that you prefer. And add to that the fact that there's been next to nothing on Xbox since the Xbox One. Well, what do you expect? I wasn't playing multiplats on the Xbox One, let me tell you that. I've been playing Fight Night. Oh, wait a minute. Wait. Y'all didn't remind me. Oh, shoot. I clicked the wrong one. Damn it. I clicked the wrong one, guys. I'm sorry. I'm getting old, fellas. I'm getting old. Just take me out behind the barn. Just take me out behind the barn, guys. It's over. It's over. I'm over the hill. I've lost my touch. It's gone. It's not coming back. The age has taken its toll on me. I'm toast. I can't even keep track of my own menus anymore. I'm done. I'm done. And now I don't even remember what I was talking about. Oh, well, we have 2 hours remaining, and we are now $140 away from the goal. So, that means what? 7 people would have to donate $20 tonight. 7 more people would have to donate $20 tonight to reach the goal. I don't think it's going to happen. I would love you to death if it does happen, but I don't think it's going to happen. So let's see. Either that or 16 people would have to donate $10. Let's see what happens. We got 2 more hours to go. Let's see. I've been playing Fight Night round. Wow. Been getting beat up, lost 3 fights. I'm Ali now, and I don't have that problem no more. Gee, I wonder why. Wonder why, Tokes. Hey, Tokes. How'd you like your cameo in episode 3 of Trey for Life, sir? I have that whole video, and I think I have 2 more of your videos. I think I have a total of 3 that I've been able to dig up. Let me know if you had fun with that, son. It would be awesome if Obsidian and Exile into the Fallout game, not but that. Don't expect that to happen, not after Microsoft invested what they did. The problem is Skyrim's combat isn't that fun. You just have to work on it. I had fun with it. Once you really get some of the dragon powers going, you can really F some people up, man. Admittedly, I didn't use archery that much. I stuck to shields, swords, and spears and what have you, and mix. So but I never used shields. So I'd have a sword in one hand, and I'd have a magic power in the other. And so, I'd spam them with fire, run up, and slice their head off. And then when a bunch of their other guys would come running towards me, I'd dragon shout them and stun them all to hell, and then run up and just start stabby stab. I got my fun out of it. Let's put it that way. And yes, the facial animations, they're more animated than they were in Fallout 4, but they still have that Disney animatronic look. That's the best way that I can describe them, is they look like Disney animatronics from the 80s. Their eyes blink and their mouths move, and maybe you might even in the 90s get some eyebrow action going, but everything else, it's mannequin. It's nowhere close to any of Sony's best studios when it comes to facial animation. Not even close. It's like 10-year-old tech. That's one of the main reasons why the game looks so dated. The environments look good. The ships look great. The textures have good detail when they load. But the characters still have awkward animation. They'll still be leading you somewhere, and if they have to take a right, they do a frickin' 90-degree turn. They still look weird walking up steps. All the little weird eccentricities of Bethesda's NPC animations, they're the exact same ones. No change. That's what I'm saying. And these people are putting on horse blinders about it and getting on to anyone who points it out because they are so desperate for Microsoft to have a win this year. And it is a win. It is a win. It is a good game. It's just not the win of wins. It's not the greatest thing to grace gaming in the history of the medium. That's not what it is. But they're willing to dogpile you to death if you try to say that it's not. And guess what? It's not. I ain't afraid of y'all. Come on in. Feel free. Join the 7thCast to tell me how wrong I am about Starfield. Go ahead. Go ahead. Let's see what you got. You ain't going to come in here. You know it, I know it, and the American people know it. Are Hump Master and Dream Master the same? No. I don't even know anyone in the community that was named Dream Master. There was a guy named Dream 308, but not Dream Master. Where is Hump? He's mostly retired from YouTube. Based on a video he posted 2 years ago, I'm assuming he works in construction because he was wearing your standard construction safety vest and he was sitting in one of those one of those trailers that they use out in like asphalt plants and stuff. So I'm assuming that he's working at an asphalt or a premix plant or something like that. Some kind of construction or materials site based on that one video, or at least he was 2 years ago. He also doesn't seem to be driving that fancy sports car that he had anymore, because the last video that I saw him make where he was driving, it looked like he was driving a minivan or an SUV or something. Maybe he has a company car that he drives to the plant or whatever. I don't know. Bye, Nicholas. Was next gen 720? I don't know, Shadow. I know things about next gen that were actually documented as far as his criminal history. But as far as his documented criminal history, that particular activity was not in there. So I have no proof of that. I'm happy with my Alienware laptop RTX 3070. I can play everything on max settings to the resolution that your laptop will support, yeah. But 4K max settings on a 3070, no. But for what you've got, for what that laptop has as its main display, you ought to be able to play most things at 60 frames or better, yeah. Let's see here. For a while, anyway. Won't be that way for long. Is Baldur's Gate 3 the only game in the running to beat Zelda's crown for Game of the Year? I could potentially still see Microsoft exuding enough political clout to get Starfield in the running. We still haven't played Spider-Man, so we don't know how much of a contender it is. But it's going to be interesting this year. It's going to be interesting. 2D side-scroller space shooter. Yeah, I've played it, yeah. Thoughts on gaming franchises changing their main genre to another completely different one? Never been a fan. I've hated that kind of thing going all the way back to ActRaiser. I loved ActRaiser. It was one of my absolute favorite SNES games, still is. ActRaiser 2 completely changed the gameplay of the fighting sections and removed the world building part of it, the sim part of it, entirely. So it was just the side-scrolling levels. I was so pissed. Oh God, I was pissed. Seventh, have you played Crash 4? No. I have Crash 4, but I haven't played it. What if one person donated $10,000? That's not going to happen, Chris. You know, you were one of the ones that was, as I recall, that was involved in that little competition going on between you and somebody else. I don't remember who it was, trying to out-donate each other, and I ended up making like $475 that night. That's the one and only time that's ever happened. That's the most I've ever made in one night. $10,000? Please. Please. Nobody loves me that much, G. Nobody loves me that much. Seventh, I enjoyed it. My cameo description, you hit it on the nail. Cool. I wanted to make sure I got you right, Tokes. And I didn't want to go into too much detail. You know, I have talked publicly, and you know this, about the whole demon thing before. I have talked about it, but I've never made fun of you over it. Different people have their own issues they have to deal with, you know. I have issues that you don't have, and you have issues that I don't have. It just is the way it is. Mine is that, you know, I'm a half-crippled fat ass. Yours is that, you know, sometimes you see things that other people don't see and react to things differently than other people do. It is what it is. How does fall... As long as you don't let it rule your life, Tokes, that's... I just want you to be happy and not let it take over your life. That's all I've ever wanted for you. Is Baldur's Gate 3 the only game in the running to take the news? I already answered that. Let me catch up to where I was. How does Final Fantasy 16 compare to the other Final Fantasies? It doesn't compare to them because it doesn't play like a Final Fantasy. It plays like an open world Devil May Cry. That's basically what it is. It's an open world Devil May Cry. Which is not a bad thing. The game's a lot of fun. But if you're going in there wanting traditional Final Fantasy, you're not going to get it. Thoughts on the Blues Brothers. First one is epic. I love it. I watch it every time I happen across it. Like every time it shows up for free on Amazon Prime, I watch it. My dad used to love that cop car chase at the end. He laughed so hard. You would think that was the funniest thing that's ever been put on film. He would laugh until he lost his breath every time watching that car chase scene with the cops. But the second one was dog shit. For one thing, instead of bringing John Goodman into it, they should have brought Jim Belushi in. Sure, he doesn't sound or talk anything like his brother, but it would have made more sense. You know, this was his brother from another mother, you know, and bring Jim in. Maybe Jim didn't want to do it because he knew he couldn't live up to John. I don't know. But if I was making a sequel to Blues Brothers, knowing that John Belushi was gone, I would have gone straight to Jim. I mean, I love John Goodman, but he did not work in that movie at all. The creation engine should be on its 4th iteration, at least, if Unreal's on its 5th, 6th. The creation engine has always and will always be trash. They just refuse to admit it and refuse to do anything lasting or real or significant about it. What happened to Zaire? He's still around as far as I know. I think at one point he stopped repping for Xbox at one point. I don't keep up with him because I don't keep up with people that have been engaged in the stuff that he's engaged in. Remember Dead Rising 2? Yes, I have Dead Rising 2. It's insane how modders are making free patches on jailbroken PS5s to get some games to 60 and even 120 frames, but so many games are still stuck at 30. Honestly, I haven't really played that many 30 frames per second games on the PS5. Most of them have had a 60 frame performance mode. It's just the last 2 or 3 have not. Oh my gosh, the one other person that I know that played ActRaiser. Damn good game. ActRaiser is phenomenal. I also have the remake. Not as good. Not as good. That killed me to say, but it's true. The remake of ActRaiser is not as good. What is one big problem with modern music? All modern music is trash. That's the problem with it. It's soulless garbage. There's no heart in any of it. Not unless you go listen to some of the bands coming out of Europe. Some of the hard rock and metal bands coming out of Europe. And some of the punk bands coming out of Europe. They get it. And I mean, there's a few underground punk bands here in the U.S. that get it too. But the stuff that's on modern radio or whatnot, the stuff that's getting all the hits on TikTok, it's trash. Kids don't even know what good music is anymore. They really don't. Because they've been force-fed this garbage for the last 10 years so much that that's what they think music is. It's pathetic. And you know, up until then, I didn't consider myself an old fuddy-duddy like my dad. When I was a kid, my dad wouldn't listen to anything that was newer than like 1962. Yeah, he was all about Jerry Lee Lewis, Carl Perkins, and Elvis and all that. That's all he listened to. That's all he liked. I've never been that way up until the last 10 years or so. As far as American music goes, I still find new bands all the time in the underground, like underground punk bands, European bands like Hardcore Superstar, Volbeat, that kind of thing. But the new stuff coming out of the U.S., it's trash. Absolute trash. Imagine Dragons could suck on my 48-year-old unit. That's right, bro. From Tokes. That's right, bro. The console wars was fun and crazy. It's long gone now. We're older and have more important things. Hey, you do you, Tokes. I would still be doing it if there was an audience for it. I would still be doing it if I had the audience that I did up until March of 2016 when I was getting 50 and 60,000 views. I'd still be doing it. People lost interest in it, and then the adpocalypse hit and their newest iteration of the algorithm, and that killed it. That just killed it, man. Do you think The Last of Us 3 will fail? If it's written and directed by Neil Druckmann, it's going to be more of the same, and he'll find new and exciting ways to piss everybody off. Expect it. Do you think Better Call Saul is unnecessary? Never been a fan of it. I loved Breaking Bad. I couldn't give less of a crap about Better Call Saul. Thoughts on Metroid Fusion? I remember playing it back in the day. I mean, I've never played a Metroid game that I didn't like except for Metroid Other M. Do you like the BioShock franchise? I like the first BioShock game, and there were bits and pieces of BioShock Infinite that I liked. But for the most part, I only really care about the first game. The other two were kind of meh. Oh my God, 7th, I remember you said you loved Def Leppard, loved the tune Hysteria, man. I think you inspired me to listen to it. Oh, I love Def Leppard. Particularly, my favorites were Pyromania, Hysteria, and Adrenalize. I also liked Euphoria because Euphoria sounded a lot like a mixture of Hysteria and Adrenalize with a little bit of their experimental slang album that came out in the late 90s mixed in. So I like, those are my main favorites. Pyromania, Hysteria, Adrenalized, and Euphoria. I don't really listen to a lot of their older stuff like Diver Down and whatnot. Or was that a Def Leppard album? I don't think it was. I still listen to Def Leppard to this day. It has a permanent placement in my Spotify. At least those 4 albums do. It's ironic that member berries are remember berries now. Do you get what I'm saying? Kinda. 7th, we can't do console wars if we wanted to. YouTube's a whole new world now. True. We'd be canceled or flagged down to infinity. I'm just saying, if YouTube was the same way as it was back in from 2009 to 2012, I'd still be doing it today. Just started playing Rift Apart. I tell you, we've come a long way. Some of the missions are so detailed and immersive, it's crazy, blown away. Rift Apart was a great game. I wish it had been a little bit longer. It's certainly not as long as A Crack in Time was. A Crack in Time remains my favorite Ratchet and Clank game. It gave you so much to do. You got to have a good antagonist. We can say what we want about General MLD, but he was needed. Yes. There's nobody like him in the community now. Absolutely not. Colt Eastwood, give me a break. Mooch, pfft. Don't even get me started about Crap Gamer. Do you listen to Dead Kennedys? Absolutely, I listen to Dead Kennedys. I don't like all of their albums. I do have my favorites. I sprayed water all over myself. What's the matter with this cap? Me lads. Water. To get me some water, some fluids. I listen to a lot of Dead Kennedys. I don't like all of their albums. I I don't like fresh fruit for rotting vegetables too much. And I don't like In God We Trust Incorporated, which is really an EP. I don't like those. I like Give Me Convenience or Give Me Death. I like Plastic Surgery Disasters. There's a few songs on Frankenchrist that I like. And Bedtime for Democracy. I like those. But I don't care too much for their first album, Fresh Fruits, or that In God We Trust EP. Seventh, have you ever seen an old horror movie from the 80s called American Gothic? Yes, I've seen it. It's pretty good. It's not one of my favorites, but it's watchable. I thought it was Max88 that donated that night. He was one of them, but Chris G was also one of them. Like I said, there were multiple people donating that night, and they all seemed like they were trying to top each other. I don't know if that was what was actually happening, but that's what it seemed like from my perspective. It's the only time that's ever happened. Why was Superman never the same after Christopher Reeve died? Because a whole generation grew up essentially, for them, Christopher Reeve was Superman. And it wasn't that it was never the same after he died. It was never the same after Superman 2. Because Superman 3 sucked. Superman 4 sucked. Then he quit the role. Is what it is. Seventh, you skipped a question. Where? You asked Lewis a question. I don't see where you asked me a new question. What's a celebrity death that really shocked you? Roddy Piper. Thoughts on Smash Mouth? Was never a fan. John Candy? I love John Candy. He put out some stinkers, but the ones that were great more than made up for them. What would you rate Starfield out of 7? It's probably a 5. Would you say Sony are slacking on the exclusives coming out in the next few years? I don't really know. They're playing everything really close to their chest this generation. They're not leaking a whole lot of things or talking too early about them. I mean, really, they haven't talked seriously about something that was way off since they showed their Wolverine teaser trailer. But really, if they're missing any one thing, it is a Western-style RPG. And since they're so known for Japanese-style stuff too, I think they need to buy a Japanese RPG studio and really flood it with money. I mean, I guess they feel they don't need to because of Square, but it's not like all of a sudden Sucker Punch is going to start making Western RPGs, you know? Because, yes, these big open world third-person action games that Sony is becoming known for, they do have RPG elements, but they're still not an RPG. Did you like the Creepshow films? Creepshow 1 and 2 were good. Creepshow 3 was not really a Creepshow movie. It was an ultra-low-budget thing that somebody just somehow managed to call Creepshow 3. Thoughts on Bob Barker's death? Well, I mean, the man was in his 90s. You know? The man was in his 90s. In his death, he managed to go to 99 without going over. He lived the game. I think that deserves some respect. No, Christopher Reeves retired from the role years before he fell off the horse. You know, Superman 4 came out in like 1987, somewhere around in there. And, you know, he fell off the horse years after that. Years after that. 7th, have you ever... I answered that question, Tokes. I answered that question. I said, yeah, it was all right, that it wasn't anything mind-blowing, but it was watchable. I did answer that question. Thoughts on Kevin Conroy's death? Batman will never quite sound the same ever again. He was perfect in the role. I think Sony needs to be careful with Microsoft getting all these acquisitions. That all depends, man. I mean, sure, Starfield is a big hit for them, but the acquisitions haven't exactly done a lot for them this gen so far. You know? They've mostly gotten AA stuff at best. And again, Starfield is a good game. But it's not some AAA monster. It's not this everything is going to be different from now on type of game. Yeah, it's not going to push the medium forward like so many of the Sony first-party exclusives have over the last, you know, several gens. Not so much in with the PS1, but definitely with the PS2, starting with God of War, and absolutely moving into PS3 territory with Uncharted. Do you think a RoboCop game would be of any interest? Tokes, there is a new RoboCop game coming out. It's a first-person shooter. I don't remember the name of it, but it's made by that same studio that made that Terminator first-person shooter a couple of years ago. Do you think Paul Heyman was a terrible businessman? Yes. You know, has a great mind for the business, not so great at running a business. 7th, what did you think of Tetris Effect, assuming you play? It was okay. It was all right. It's Tetris. You know, there's only so many things you can do with Tetris, you know? Just is what it is, baby. Just is what it is. I just don't know, man. Because, look, some of these guys that are kissing Starfield's ass are the same guys that were bitching and complaining about all the problems with Fallout 4, Fallout 76, Skyrim, Fallout 3. But now, because it's a Microsoft exclusive, they're kissing Starfield's ass, and Starfield has all the same problems those three previous games did, except it doesn't have the issues Fallout 76 did because it's not a multiplayer game. Yet. Doesn't mean it won't become one. You know? Who's to say that we're not going to get like Starfield 76 in a couple of years? Or you know what I'm saying. Do I think I'll try it? It depends on how much it costs. I mean, so I watched the trailer for it. To me, it didn't look that great. We'll see. Will you watch the new Exorcist movie? When it's free on Amazon Prime, I'm not paying to go see it in the theater. It looks dumb. As far as I'm concerned, the story of The Exorcist ended with Exorcist 3. Because Exorcist 3 is the only one, besides the original, that's any good. I don't even consider... I refuse to rewatch Exorcist 2 ever again. I've seen it 5 times in my lifetime. It sucked every time I watched it. I'm never watching it again. Is Horizon Zero Dawn overrated? I don't think it's overrated. I don't think it's overrated. Maybe overrated in the sense of its influence on the industry, because it's not exactly one of Sony's big sellers. It does well, but it doesn't do like Spider-Man or God of War numbers. Not even close. 7th, do you like the Insane? No, I don't like the Insane Clown Posse. Not a fan. When it comes to white rappers, Tokes, for me it's just the Beastie Boys and Eminem. I don't care about any of the other ones. What are some of the games where you felt the most immersed? Well, one of them was Skyrim. I was totally absorbed by that game. Glitches and all. Because of the sense of exploration of it. I love games where I'm just dropped in a big world and I explore it to find what's there. That's what I love. And Skyrim had that in spades. Starfield doesn't have it. It has the same amount, at least, in the terms of square footage, for lack of a better term. But you're not going out and exploring and finding these things. They're all tied to missions, and the missions tell you exactly where to go. You know, it's like I explained before. You're not just going onto this big map and setting a marker and just going there, and on your way you may find like this massive, huge environment that you had no clue was there, wasn't on the map, has all these different things to do in it. That doesn't happen in Starfield. You'll happen across quests where you just overhear someone talking about something and you'll get a little side quest appear in your menu. But even then, if you click on that quest to go to it, you know, it may be a 4 or 5 part quest, but you're not happening just, moseying across this planet and fall down in a hole and find this massive underground city. That doesn't happen. Not like it did in Skyrim. Not like it did in Fallout either. The exploration in the game feels more like Mass Effect. Or Outer Worlds. I was really scared at Exorcist, but laughed at Exorcist 2. Laughing is all you can do with Exorcist 2. That movie is so dumb. Are there any Assassin's Creed games worth getting for my PS5? I know I'm going to get in trouble for this one, especially since I never went back to finish it. I like Assassin's Creed Valhalla for the same reason that I liked Skyrim. Exploration. Finding new things. That's why I like that one. Otherwise, Assassin's Creed 4 is good if you like pirate stuff. And then the first 2 games. Assassin's Creed 1 and 2. Rest of it's trash. I feel that, from Clean Frame, I feel that the Grand Theft Auto 6 price rumor that got Twitter in a tizzy is just the collector's edition. What do you think? I hope so. If that's what they're planning to sell, just the regular retail game, they can go F themselves. Do you consider the PS5 user interface a downgrade from the PS4? No, because the PS4 was just a slight evolution of the PS3 UI. It worked more or less just like the PS3 UI. I like the PS5 UI. I find it very easy to navigate around in. It didn't take me no time to find where everything was. It was very intuitive. 7th, right. Beastie Boys is the greatest. And Eminem. You like Beastie Boys better than Eminem. I think Beastie Boys were better than Eminem at finding, crafting good beats and good hooks for their songs. There's a lot of Eminem songs where, yeah, his rapping ability is impressive, but it's not a song that sticks to you. You're not going to find yourself rapping it to yourself while you're driving down the road or while you're sitting at your desk. Beastie Boys did that. There's not anyone out there that grew up in the 80s that couldn't sit there and start thinking, I had a little horsey named Paul Revere. Just me and my horsey and a quart of beer. Riding across the land, kicking up sand. Got a posse on my trail because I'm in demand. All of us can do this. Because those songs stick with you. Eminem is great, but I can't think of it, except for the theme song to 8 Mile, I can't think of a single song of his, except for that one and the real Slim Shady Please Stand Up. While most of his stuff doesn't have a hook that gets its hooks in you to where you remember it. But when he does get a hook, he's the best at it. He just doesn't do it as often as the Beastie Boys did. The Beastie Boys did it with damn near every song they made. That's what sets them apart. Their albums weren't 1 or 2 good songs. Every song that they did was an earworm. It gets stuck in your brain. Even the ones that sucked would still get stuck in your brain. Like that song off of License to Ill, Girls. It makes me want to whip out my girls. Girls. Even crappy stuff like that. It's still stuck in your head. You don't forget it. Yeah, I watched Tales from the Crypt. Let's see here. I got to catch up. Didn't Horizon Zero Dawn do like 20 million copies? I don't remember Horizon Zero Dawn going up to 20 million, no. I don't remember it going that high. Maybe I'm wrong. I haven't looked at its numbers in a while. Skyrim came out in 2011. It's been a long time. Have you played the Dead Space remake? No, I really want to, but I've been saving up for Retropalooza. I wish we could go back to the PSP, PS3 GUI. Favorite 70s movies? Well, I mean, Star Wars, The Exorcist, Jaws. The usual suspects. Godfather. 7th, have you seen Maniac Cop? Yes. I've seen Maniac Cop and Maniac Cop 2. Maniac Cop 1 was better. Yes, like I said before, I watched a lot of Tales from the Crypt. Although, as far as story writing goes, I still think I prefer Tales from the Dark Side. I just think it was creepier than Tales from the Crypt. To me, Tales from the Crypt was funny. Tales from the Crypt was kind of like Creepshow. Like Creepshow the show. Kind of like how Creepshow the show exists now. And is good. But Tales from the Dark Side was legitimately creepy. Starfield versus Cyberpunk. Which one is better? Oh, man. Honestly, I think Starfield's better than Cyberpunk. That's just me. I think Cyberpunk is definitely a better looking game. And in a lot of ways, its gameplay is better. Its gunplay is way better. But there are some things about it. I mean, there's some things about Starfield that just feel better to me. And I don't know if they really are better or if that's just my nostalgia for Fallout saying that it feels better. If that makes sense to you. But when I think about the two games, I feel like I'm enjoying Starfield on that Fallout level more than I enjoyed Cyberpunk. Is Outer Worlds good? I'm really into BioShock, so I feel it'd be a no. Outer Worlds is not like BioShock. If you liked Fallout New Vegas, you will love The Outer Worlds. Same team. But it doesn't have all the glitches and crappy performance that Fallout New Vegas did on console. So if you're a fan of Fallout New Vegas, you need to play Outer Worlds. Bethesda games had one big problem. They never had a great story for the main story. Not one Bethesda game had a good story. I disagree. Skyrim had a great story. Yes, it's the same story that they've repeated a few times, the Chosen One and whatnot, which they haven't come out and said that in Starfield, but it still has that vibe. Because you're the one having the visions, and you're the one getting these powers, and they don't understand why it's happening. They haven't come out and said, you're the chosen one, but they're highly implying it. John Lennon or Paul McCartney? Paul McCartney. There's always been something that just rubbed me wrong about John Lennon as far as his personality and his attitude, that I never got that vibe from Paul McCartney. Paul McCartney strikes me as the type of guy you'd want to hang out with him and have fun. I don't get that from John Lennon. Is Mass Effect better than Starfield? That's subjective. I think its gameplay is better. It's gunplay. Especially if you try playing Starfield in third person. Mass Effect 1 and 2 wipe the floor with it. And overall, I like the universe of Mass Effect better than the one they've built for Starfield. I feel it's more unique. I feel you get more engaged and care about the characters more. None of the characters in Starfield are gripping me so far. I don't really give a crap about any of them. I don't find any of them memorable. Sarah's the only one where I could even tell you their name. But, Mass Effect, it's like every character was fantastic. Even the villains in that game were fantastic. Thoughts on Nicolas Cage? Wait a minute. Eminem has songs that have hooks in them, and those are the ones that became hit music videos. The problem being is that the rest of the songs on his albums that don't get made into music videos, those are the ones that don't have the memorable hooks in them. 7, do you think PS5 has some advantage over X despite having less teraflops? I just think that Microsoft went for raw power, whereas the PlayStation 5 was more about let's give it more power than PS4 had, obviously, but let's be a little bit more innovative in how that power is used and how that power is balanced through the system and whatnot. And so it's made it to where some games performed better on the platform, even though it was working with less power. Having more power doesn't do you any good if it's constantly being bottlenecked. So I think the things that have plagued the Xbox Series X are in a way, not exactly, but in a way, similar to the problems that made the Saturn have inferior graphics to 3D graphics to the PS1, even though it had more power than the PS1. Did you like Billy Idol? Yeah, I loved Billy Idol. His old stuff, anyway. Favorite song? Dancing with Myself. Have you played Stray? Yes, I played Stray. It was okay. Did 8th watch Are You Afraid of the Dark? No, 8th... Are You Afraid of the Dark was kind of already gone by the time 8th was to the age where he was watching TV. 8th was born in 2003. 7th, do you have any hope for the big Cyberpunk update they're coming out with? Yeah, I hope it's good enough to inspire me to go back and play it, because I haven't played it since I beat it like 2 weeks after it came out. Have you played Tiny Tina's Wonderland? Yes, I have it. I beat it. I just haven't 100%ed it. It has sold 20 million copies. Okay, the last time I looked at it, it wasn't near that high. Might have been from pack-ins and like the re-release that they did. They did a re-release of it that improved the performance. That might have been what got it over the 20 million mark. It's also been a pack-in a couple of times too, Farb. And they count those in numbers sold. So there's people that, bought a PS4 and got Horizon Zero Dawn and maybe never even put it in their system. Thoughts on The Force Unleashed? I think that was a great God of War style series, and it didn't get a fair shake. I think it should have gotten at least a part 3. I would love even though I don't like most of what Disney has done with Star Wars, I like The Mandalorian. That's about it. I would love to see a Force Unleashed series and make it R-rated. The first R-rated Star Wars show, and have it be about, the storyline of The Force Unleashed. I would love to see. Give it to Sam. Let Sam Raimi direct it. Oh my God. Although I have a feeling that possibly after the Multiverse of Madness, I think Sam Raimi might be done with doing licensed property movies. The new did you ever watch the Advent Children movie? Yeah, years and years ago. The new Venture Brothers movie is the newest season condensed into a 2-hour thrill ride. I recommend it to see it if you have. No, I haven't watched it yet. Noxious Gaming. What up, 7th? Tell me, how do you feel about the next Assassin's Creed taking place in feudal Japan, but having historically... I don't know. I haven't really read much about it, Noxious. Did you like Dragon Force? The band or the game for Saturn? The answer is yes to both, but I really loved Dragon Force on the Saturn. It was a fantastic game. What's your favorite Western game besides Red Dead? Sunset Riders. Sunset Riders. Thoughts on Final Fantasy 12? I love Final Fantasy 12. It's Final Fantasy 13 and 15 I can't stand. Why is there no new game plus on Cyberpunk? It would improve the game. I don't know. You'd have to ask them. Thoughts on David Matterson, 70s show actor. What, the one that just got 30 years? Is that who that was? Is he the one that got 30 years? No, that was Danny. Danny something. That got 30 years for, the R word. Yes, I remember Dragon's Lair. I was around when it was in the arcade. Lord. See you, Master Chief. Hey, 7th, Darth Sidious versus Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom was smarter. Doctor Doom would wipe the floor with Darth Sidious. Darth Sidious is a dumbass. He electrocuted himself to death twice. Twice! 3 times if you count the time that he deformed himself. He deformed himself with his electricity, lost control of his electricity, and that allowed Vader to pick him up and toss him. And then he literally burned himself to death with his own electricity. The man was a dumbass. Dr. Doom would obliterate him. Dr. Doom would be like 6 steps ahead of him constantly. Will we see Ghost of Tsushima 2? Oh, I almost guarantee it. I'm sure that's what Sucker Punch is working on right now. They just haven't released a trailer for it yet. Why did Multiverse of Madness turn the way that it did? I don't know. That movie was too occupied with setting up other shows and movies. Doctor Strange wasn't even the star of his own movie. That wasn't even a Doctor Strange movie. That was a WandaVision the movie. And of course also, introducing America Chavez or whatever. I thought you said you hated Red Dead. I liked Red Dead 1. Red Dead Redemption. I didn't like Red Dead Redemption 2. And I mean, I didn't love Red Dead Redemption 1 because I felt the gunplay was garbage. But I liked the story, and again, I liked, roaming around searching for stuff. Red Dead 2 just had too many problems. How big of a flop will Skull and Bones be? It'll be a massive flop. Yeah, Danny Masterson, 30 years. Yeah. I never liked that 70s show. I was not a fan of that show. Never really. I watched like 2 or 3 episodes of it, didn't like it, and never went back to it. How Final Fantasy 15 did summoning is absolutely... You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Yeah, I don't even think I was able to summon more than 10 times, and I platted that game because of how, specific the circumstances had to be for you to be able to summon. It was a joke. Do you think the Thing could destroy Bane? Almost definitely. 7th, do you think Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2 should have been an animated movie? I don't know. I mean, basically, it just would have been an animated Marvel Civil War. What other games are like the Dead Rising series? I can't really think of one right off the top of my head. I mean, probably the closest thing would be the Dead Island series if you could play it in third person. I'm going to give you my most nuclear opinion of Final Fantasy, that being the series sucks because of its boring turn-based combat system. Can't agree with you less. Noxious. Turn-based games are great. It's just if you're not a strategy type person, you're not going to like it. If all you like is pew 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 and swing swing swing, it's not the right genre for you. That doesn't mean it's bad or boring. It just means that you don't have a taste for it. No, I did not watch the new TMNT film. I can't imagine it did great because it just showed up on Amazon Prime already. Not free. You got to pay $20 for it, but no. I have no interest in watching it. It looked dumb and no thank you. For me, it's still really the only TMNT movie that I've really liked was the first one that Jim Henson worked on. I haven't really liked any of the others. Yeah, Clean Frame. Like I said, Starfield is not this genre, industry-changing game. It's the same old from Bethesda. But if you've always loved Bethesda games, you'll have a good time with it. It's not a bad game. It's not a game that does anything new or innovative. It feels like a game that's 10 years old that got a remaster for improved graphics. That's what it feels like. What happened to point-and-click games? They still make point-and-click games. It's just it's only indie studios doing them. You have to go find them from indie studios. There's new ones that come out every year, but they're all from indie studios. Yeah, I have Dead to Rights 1 and 2 on Xbox, original Xbox. What happened if you were stranded on an island with Neil Druckmann and the French dude from Disney World? French dude from Disney World. Not sure I get that reference. Well, if we were stranded on the island long enough, I'd probably eat them. I mean... Does Fantastic Four movies need a reboot? Yes. Does this mean we can't use No Man's Sea? What's your take on Diablo 4? And also its collector's edition. I never looked at its collector's edition. I still have not played Diablo 4 because I have been saving for Retropalooza. I'll play it eventually. I love Diablo. I'm not crazy about the fact that it's always online, but then again, so was Diablo 3. So, unfortunately, that's the new reality that we're having to deal with a lot of the time. Is Mass Effect Andromeda really that bad? Yes, But for $4, it's a game that you'll have fun laughing at how bad it is while you play it. 7th, have you played Puppeteer? Yes, I have it on my shelf. It's a hidden gem. Yes, I know. Just didn't sell for shit. Was Luigi's Mansion 3 good? Yes, if you like Luigi's Mansion. If you don't like Luigi's Mansion, Luigi's Mansion 3 is not going to change your mind. 7th, do you think Danny Matterson's wife has a... Why would you even ask me that? What the hell does that have to do with anything? You asked some weird questions trying to troll me, Shadow. What's your thoughts on Pee Wee Herman? I loved Pee Wee's Big Adventure. There were some aspects of Pee Wee's Playhouse that I liked on Saturday mornings. He did some... The actor, Paul Reubens, did some questionable things and had some questionable interests. I mean, the man collected vintage prawn. But, yeah, and there were other movies he did that I loved, like Mystery Men. I loved Mystery Men. I wasn't that big a fan of the most recent Pee Wee Herman movie that he made. Didn't care for that one too much. I'm sure it would have been better if Tim Burton had actually been involved, but, you know, maybe. Tim Burton hasn't been exactly the greatest the last few years either. Although I did like Dark Shadows, and I don't apologize for it. Do you think the Dead to Right prequels were bad and unnecessary? For the most part. You told a story about a French dude. Oh, that guy. The guy that wouldn't move out of the way and was trying to take up my personal space. That guy. I thought you were talking about a Disney employee or something. Have you played Pizza Tower? I have no idea what that is. Thoughts on the movie Blow? I don't really care about movies about drugs or drug addiction. They don't grip me. Oh, by the way, we got 1 hour left. We've had a single $20 donation. Highlander 2 is one of the worst sequels ever made. Can't argue that. Favorite Diablo game? Probably Diablo 3. I just didn't like the fact that it was always online. Probably a tie between Diablo 2 and Diablo 3. My first experience with Final Fantasy was Final Fantasy VII on PS1. It was so boring and it didn't help that I couldn't read and the music sucked. I can't help you there, man. I can't agree with you saying the music sucked either. I thought the music was great. Is Diablo 1 worth playing? Well, they did remaster it and re-release it digitally a year or two ago. It has not aged well. So your mileage may vary on that one. Do you think Dead to Rights would have been better as a film? I don't know. I have no idea. Thoughts on the Rocky Horror Picture Show? I was never as big a fan of Rocky Horror as other people around me. I mean, I liked it all right. But I don't know. It just didn't really do it for me. And that's probably because, you know, there was only one or two times that I ever went and experienced it at one of the midnight showings, you know. Most of my experiences with Rocky Horror was sitting with friends and watching it at home when it finally hit VHS. Honestly, I liked the Rick Moranis Little Shop of Horrors better than Rocky Horror. 7th, of all the YouTubers sitting in front of walls of games, would you say a game collection is... When would you say a game collection is too big? When you're no longer able to walk around easily in your house. That's when it's too big. Or when you're spending more money on its... you're having to spend more money on its upkeep than you are on expanding it. Did you like Maze Runner? What, the movie series? No. It from the 1990s or the movies? I like them both for different reasons. Although, I didn't like It Part 2 near as much as It Part 1. 7th, do you think Rocky 4 was bad? No, I love Rocky 4. I think Rocky 5 was the one that kind of sucked. And that's because his son, who played his son in the movie, who didn't look anything or act or talk anything like the kid that played his son in the previous film, I don't think he could act for crap. And then, he ended up committing suicide. Sage Stallone. Thoughts on the first Darksiders game? It was a pretty decent homage to 3D Zelda. What do you think of the movie Stay Alive? I think it was just another rip-off on The Ring. And instead of it being a VHS tape that kills you, it's a video game that kills you. You die in the video game, you die in real life, There were elements of it that were funny. That's about all I can say for it. Did you ever see Brian De Palma's Phantom of the Paradise? A long, long time ago. I don't really remember much about it. But I do remember renting it. Because that was when I'd go to rent movies, my dad would take me to the video store, I'd make a beeline straight for the horror section. Always. I was a huge horror movie buff when I was a kid. Not as much these days, because they've gotten mostly kind of formulaic and boring. And I watched so many horror movies when I was a kid that I became desensitized to it, so I don't get the thrill from it anymore. The last time I even got the slightest bit of a tingle from a horror movie was when I went to see The Grudge by myself in the theater in 2003 or 4, whenever it was. Do you think Back to the Future 3 is a bad film? No. Technically, I like Back to the Future 3 better than 2 because it has an actual ending. And they spend too much of Back to the Future 2 on, the crappy alternate future with evil Biff, evil millionaire Biff. That whole section of that movie is just a drag, and I'm just watching my watch waiting for it to be over. It's too dark and depressing. Do you like Hunger Games or any similar movie? No. Those were based on YA novels, young adult novels. Novels for teenagers. They don't do anything for me. They just don't. The closest I've gotten to liking a young adult novel would be the Harry Potter series. And even then, I only got into those because of my kid. But those movies were on another level. Twilight, Maze Runner, Hunger Games, none of those were even approaching being as good as the Harry Potter film series was. Do you like the game Justice League Heroes? I'm not sure I've ever played it. Thoughts on Blazing Saddles, one of the funniest movies ever made. Although it wouldn't survive if it came out nowadays. What's the best and worst movie remake? Oh, Jesus Christ. One of the worst movie remakes would be the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street. Best movie remake? The Thing. Have you listened to Herb Alpert? I don't know, because I don't know who that is. Best Friday the 13th. My favorite would be Part 4. Part 4. When you did the last episode of Trey for Life, end it like the Goodfellas movie. The guy goes in front of his house picking up the newspaper. Well, the problem there is I don't get a newspaper. But I get that. That's a good idea. Maybe. I did think about how the last scene of at least this series would actually be me on camera instead of just voiceover, but I hadn't really made up my mind what I would do there. I don't care what anyone says. The Grudge is the only horror series that has scared me. Sometimes when I'm taking... Oh, another $20. Well, £20 from Rufus Reds. Thank you, sir. His question was, 7th, what are your 3 desert island games? Oh, Lord. Oh. Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. Mega Man 2. And one of them would have to be some really offline open world game. I don't want to sit and think about it forever, so I'm just going to say Skyrim. I don't know. I still get chills thinking about that scene from The Grudge. The Grudge was creepy to go see it in the theater. And I mean, I almost got a tingle from the first Insidious film, but then they ruined it with the ending where they were just walking around on a dark set with a fog machine turned on. It's like they lost all of their budget for the last 30 minutes of that movie. It's weird. I really want to see in the newest Insidious, but I don't want to spend the $20 on it because Retropalooza. Thoughts on Bloodsport? It's a fun movie, but the crap about it being based on a true story is absolute horse crap. It's not. Frank Dukes is a confirmed liar and fabricator. He made the whole thing up. So that kind of destroys the fun of it a little bit. Favorite Harry Potter film? Probably Goblet of Fire. I think I like that one a lot. Goblet of Fire. But, well, no. You know what? I think the one that's actually my favorite is Prisoner of Azkaban because Gary Oldman. I mean, come on. Gary Oldman is epic in everything. I love Gary Oldman. Even his movie about the life of Beethoven that was boring as hell was still good because it was Gary Oldman. Thoughts on Robert Altman movies? I couldn't even tell you what movies he's made. Maybe I've seen some of them, maybe I haven't. Did he direct the Popeye movie? If he did, that's the only movie of his that I've seen that I'm aware of. Maybe I've seen others, I don't know. Story idea about one planet going to collide with Earth. One side is trying to stop it, the other is trying to hasten it. I mean, there could be some creative potential there. Just depend on how you played it. You'd have to be very careful with how you played it because it's such a fantastical concept that you could end up going too serious with it, and then that makes it unintentionally funny. If that makes sense to you? Did you ever play Nier Automata? Yeah, I platted it. Have you ever seen The Exorcism of Emily Rose? Yes. I don't really consider it a great exorcism film because it spends the whole movie trying to make you question whether or not there was even an actual demonic possession involved or whether she just had schizophrenia or something. It was more of a courtroom drama movie than an actual horror movie. That's exactly why I didn't like the Freddy remake Mario. Favorite Gary Oldman performance? Ooh. Probably The Professional. I loved him in The Professional. But then again, I also loved him in The Fifth Element. And I loved him in Bram Stoker's Dracula. That's a hard one, man. That's a really hard one. I know Robert Altman directed Nashville. I haven't seen Nashville. I've been to Nashville, but I haven't seen a movie called Nashville. Seventh, Tony Todd for the new Freddy Krueger. I think he would play the part darn good. I think he's probably a little too old to do it at this point, but I don't disagree. What's your favorite Robin Williams movie? Ooh. Honestly, probably Dead Poet Society. I mean, I loved his comedies too, but I don't know. I really like a lot of guys my age, I really identified with that movie when I saw it. As far as like feeling like school was stifling my creativity instead of fostering it. You know, I definitely understood some of the undertones of that film. What question did I skip? I did not skip it, Tokes. I answered it. Quit being impatient, Tokes. What are movies that remind you of your dad? Westerns. My dad adored Westerns. John Wayne. Anything with John Wayne in it. Anything with any of the Westerns Clint Eastwood did. That's pure dad right there. But he loved new Westerns too. He adored Tombstone. He loved Tombstone. Do you think if gaming went completely digital, a lot of gamers would walk... I don't know if a lot would walk away from it. A significant number would. The Freddy remake is a crime to humanity and disrespects the original movie. Yes. Sorry about the way that was worded. Stupid thing won't let me ask a long question. Sorry about that. Thoughts on Forrest Gump? I liked it, but it's absolutely nothing like the book. We should vote. The book was pure comedy. And satire. It had no serious moments in it. It was a joke from page 1 to the end. Yeah, it was a yuck book that they turned into a dramedy. So it's like if you read the book first and then went to see that movie, I could see you being extremely disappointed in that movie. We should vote for Neil Druckmann to play Freddy Krueger. Do you know the SNL skit about Dead Poet Society? I don't know if I've seen that one. What did you think of the D&D film this year? It was pretty good. I liked the cameo of the characters from the 80s cartoon showing up towards the end there. I thought that was fun. 7th, how can they make a darn good new Nightmare on Elm Street? Make sure that it's hard R. Don't mess too much with the mythology, and find a charismatic actor that can pull it off instead of just being creepy. You know, people went into it expecting some of it, at least a little bit of it, to be funny, and instead they made him a kitty diddler. You can't make a kitty diddler funny, I'm sorry. Out of 7, how religious was your mother? 10. Say hello to my little friend. I've already said before, I'm not a big fan of Scarface because I just don't think that Al Pacino pulls the Cuban accent off as well as other people think he does. And I think that's simply because I spent several years living in Florida, and Florida has a lot of Cuban people in it. And so, you know, I've heard the Cuban accent, and Pacino doesn't pull it off. Pacino sounds like a stereotype impersonation of a Cuban. And even though we're talking about Mexican as opposed to Cuban, every time I heard Al Pacino speak as Tony Montana, all I heard was, "Badges? We don't need no stinking badges." That's what it sounded like to me. He didn't convince me that he was a Cuban. He sounded like an Italian trying to do a Cuban accent. Took me out of the movie constantly. Same thing with that other one where he played a Cuban guy. What was the name of that movie now? I can't think of it now. Why do you think Keanu Reeves liked playing characters named John? I have no idea. 7th, do you think Matrix Revolutions was bad? Yes. It was a terrible movie. You know what one of my favorite lines in a movie is, Tokes? One of my favorite lines in all of moviedom is a line from Brian Cox, and I'm going to paraphrase it because I don't have it memorized, but it's a line from Brian Cox in that old movie, The Long Kiss Goodnight. And he's sitting there with his wife trying to eat dinner, and his wife is sitting at the dinner table holding their dog, and their dog is licking its own ass. And Brian turns to her and says something like, your dog and my enjoyment of my dinner are mutually exclusive. And she's like, what's wrong with him? And he says, Alice, your dog has been licking its own asshole for the last 3 hours straight. He said, and then he says something else, and then he says, I put to you that whatever he is trying to dislodge from there is either gone for good or there to stay. And he says it with such seriousness and conviction that I've never forgotten that line reading. So it's one of my favorite lines in all of movies. 'Cause it cracks me up every time I hear it. You know, he really sells the conviction of how much it's bothering him to be sitting there trying to enjoy a meal, but seeing and hearing that dog sucking on its own bunghole. It cracks me up every time. Thoughts on Hellraiser? Love Hellraiser 2. Everything after it was crap. The remake, so-so. Not bad, but not great. Thoughts on Black Adam? Also not bad, but not great. The script could have been a lot better. I didn't regret buying a ticket at the theater. Let's put it that way. I enjoyed it enough to where I didn't regret paying to see it. Thoughts on Witness with Harrison Ford? I have not seen that movie in probably over 20 years. Don't really remember much about it. The first Nightmare movie was never funny. That is not true. That is not true. There are some very funny moments in the original Nightmare on Elm Street, but they're supposed to be funny in a creepy way, aside from some of Johnny Depp's lines. Most of the funniest lines in that movie are Johnny Depp's, but there also are a few things that Freddy does that to me are just hilarious. Yes, I've seen Donnie Darko. I think it sucks. Yes, I've played Soldner X and Soldner X 2. The ones that are trying to hasten the cataclysm are called the Collisionists, who seem to think that merging with it could be a good idea, but again, it would just depend on your approach. Thoughts on a Beetlejuice 2? That all depends on how they play it. After having sat through The Flash and seeing that Michael Keaton as Batman was the only good part of that movie, really? Well, that's not true. I think What's-Her-Name did a good Supergirl. It had some fun moments, but he was definitely the best part of it. Having seen that, I think he could totally recapture the magic of Beetlejuice. It would all depend on the script. All depend on the script. What's one of your favorite boss fights? Nothing really springs to mind. I've never had a passion for boss fights. To me, they're just another obstacle to get around. Yeah, I can't really. Nothing really sticks out for me when it comes to boss fights. To me, they're just, another enemy that just has a bigger life bar. Was Cocaine Bear so bad that it was good? Yes. You will definitely laugh. I wouldn't pay to watch it, though. Watch it for free. Conker's Bad Fur Day. Remember the Pooh boss fight? Yes, I remember. Yeah, Carlito's Way. Carlito's Way. He's not a convincing Cuban in it either. Thoughts on Disney live remakes? They've mostly all been terrible. Jungle Book almost sold me. It almost sold me, and then we got to Christopher Walken as King Louis, and I was like, oh, come on. I just caught up to the live stream. The other day, El Presidor was actually looking at his chat and responding back to people, and Humpmaster Flex does a lot of traveling, hiking, nature stuff. Do you remember the era of video games where the non-human mascot got a hot human girlfriend? Super weird, wasn't it? Yes, it was. Has anybody seen a comedy movie where the woman gets in a dog's face and says, "all so cute," and the dog bites her face? That's very specific, Tokes. Off the top of my head, I can't think of what that would be. Thoughts on the movie Brazil? That's probably one of the only movies from Terry Gilliam that I wasn't a big fan of. And I've also sat through his Don Quixote movie. And it was pretty bad, too. Willy Wonka or the remake from 2005. I like them both for different reasons. But overall, I like the original better. What song picks you up when you're feeling down? Anything that's on the pop punk side of things. Gets my adrenaline pumping. And anything from bands like, Def Leppard, and more modern bands like Volbeat or Hardcore Superstar. What's the worst console from each generation? Jesus Christ. For me, the worst console from the Atari era was the Intellivision because I hated those controllers. But it did have some good games. That's why I still own one. 8-bit. I mean, there was only really two to choose from in the States, so I'd have to say Master System. 16-bit, the TurboGrafx 16. 32-bit, this Philips CDI. Moving into 6th generation, my least favorite was the GameCube out of the three. And the next generation, the Wii. And the next generation after that, the Wii U. Although I think the Xbox One was equally as bad. And this generation, the Series S. We're stuck in reboot purgatory, aren't we? Pretty much. Pretty much. There's originality in Hollywood is dead. They're too afraid to take a risk. You want originality? Watch indie movies. Thoughts on Will Smith smacking Chris Rock? I think I've talked about that to death, and it's been asked multiple times, Mario. I don't see a point in revisiting it. It's old news. Was The Menu of last year the best horror film centered around food? I loved The Menu. I thought it was a great movie. I don't know that I'd call it a horror movie, though. 7th, do you think the film Blue Streak was bad? I don't really remember Blue Streak. I know I watched it, but I don't remember what it was about. Favorite Will Smith film? Probably the original Men in Black. Every time Crash fights Tiny are my favorite boss fights in the series. Okay. Gex the Gecko had human girlfriends. Yeah. Do you think Christopher Walken had something to do with Natalie Wood dying? I seriously doubt it. Christopher Walken just happened to be there. How should I approach it? I can't really think of how it would start. That's on you, man. It's your story. I can't tell you how to write it. Thoughts on Far Cry 6? We own it. I haven't actually played it. 8th was not impressed. Have you ever taken 8th to a professional wrestling event? Yes. We went to see Raw live in Charlotte, North Carolina. I want to say it was in December before we moved to Texas. I think the main event was, I don't remember who she was wrestling, but it was Sasha Banks, and she ended up winning the match by putting her opponent in a submission hold that had them wrapped around one of the guardrails going up into the stands. If you remember that main event from Raw, me and 8th were there that night. What was the origin of calling someone a punk? I don't know. You look it up. I don't know. I've never delved into where the origin of the word punk comes from. Did you like the Commodore 64? I never owned one. My friend Tom down the street had one, and I felt that its games looked better than my PC compatibles looked. I'll say that for it. I think it had better games. My computer could do more than his, but the Commodore had better games. Have you ever played Hotline Miami? I have Hotline Miami and its sequel, yes. Why does everyone hate the game? I don't hate the GameCube. It just didn't have as many games I wanted to play as the other two systems. And I wasn't a big fan of the GameCube controller. Its configuration just felt like they were trying too hard to be different from the other two. Which is really something that's plagued them from the N64 on, really. What was the latest MCU movie that was good, in your unhumble opinion? No Way Home. Even though it barely counts as an MCU movie, No Way Home. If you don't count No Way Home, then I don't think there's been a good one since Endgame. Was Crash Twinsanity the best Crash game? I've never really played them on any strong level since the third one on PS1. I got kind of bored with it after that. Why do some old school PC players hate Halo? I think some of them view Halo as shooters for dummies. That it's a simplified, dumbed down shooter compared to some of the stuff they play. Thoughts on V for Vendetta? I love V for Vendetta. I know it's a lot, as far as a movie goes, I know it's a lot different from the graphic novel in a lot of ways, but I like the graphic novel and I like the movie. What do you think of Weekend at Bernie's? I thought it was disturbing. Well, I mean, either you can get behind some of the dark humor that came from the 80s or you can't. I don't think that the concept was strong enough to base a whole movie around it. The joke gets old really fast, and it still shocks me that they managed to make a sequel to it. But, it wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen. Do you think the Xbox Series X is holding the Series X back? I think it's holding a lot of things back. What do you think actually happened to George Reeves? I think he just shot himself. Sasha Banks versus Charlotte Flair. I remember that match because Ric Flair raised Sasha's hand. Do you think Too Human could have been a great game? Could have been, but it wasn't. Thoughts on the Velvet Underground? Never really got into them. I preferred the Digital Underground. The Humpty Dance is your chance to do the hump. Was Xbox ever on top of PS, even if it was for a small period? 360 was ahead of PS2 for much of the of that generation in sales. Seventh, you're freaking crazy. The GameCube has some of the best. I didn't say it. Stop trying to troll me, Shadow Deist. When you put words in my mouth, you're trying to get an angry reaction out of me. You're trying to troll me. I'm not stupid. I did not say that it didn't have good games. I said the other two systems had more good games than the GameCube had. That's one of the reasons why GameCube games are getting so expensive, because there's fewer of them. Stop trolling me. That's strike 2. Normally that kind of shit wouldn't work on me, but, I haven't been feeling well. You guys know this. I don't have the patience for it right now. Just piss off with that shit. So much death these past few years. Recently, John Hendricks passed away. He played Dale Gribble on the King. Yeah. Night 7th got work in a few hours. Thank you, Rafus Reds. However that's pronounced. Thanks for coming. Thanks for the $20. I'm not even going to say that the GameCube had better games. It just had fewer that were great. I watched like a 2-hour-long video by a YouTuber called Fringy that broke down how Endgame is full of plot holes, and given the rules of the MCU, it's impossible. Would recommend a watch. I don't care enough to watch it, to be honest with you. Would the Mario is missing concept be good? Could the Mario is missing concept be good? Not for anything outside of a kid's game. I don't think so, no. What was a don't buy this shit that you were going to do but never got around to it? Redfall. I was going to do a DBTS on Redfall and I didn't get around to it. What console do you think has the best controller? I didn't have any complaints about the DualShock 4. I don't really care about the adaptive triggers or the smarter vibration function of the DualSense. I would happily buy an official PlayStation controller that had those removed just so I could have more battery life. Because all that crap does is it irritates my arthritis. God, that makes me sound old. 7th, what's the biggest bug insect that you have ever seen? In person? Camel spider. I mean, I didn't have one crawl into my house or anything, obviously. It was, at some exhibit. I can't even remember where it was. It was like some kind of, nature exhibition or whatever. And, they would pull them out so you could see them. And, you couldn't hold it or nothing. But, they'd pull them out to where you could see them moving around and stuff. Xbox Microsoft is the greediest company out there because you have to play offline, so screw them. Do the other guys do this? I think there are a few games on PlayStation. They're not first party, but there are some games on PlayStation where if your console is not online, it won't update the game, so you can't play it. It keeps telling you that you have to be online to play it and stuff. Thoughts on Boardwalk Empire? I was really getting into it, but when I found out that they canceled it prematurely, I never finished it because what was the point? I never did review Last of Us Part 1. I don't think it would have been a DBTS because it didn't have the problems that Last of Us 2 had, plot-wise. Thoughts on The Witcher 2? If you can't play it on PC, don't play it because the 360 version sucks. Oh, I'm not going to let my health stop me from going to Retropalooza. Not this time. Not this time. No, I don't have any pet fish. If you had to eat a bug, what would it... I wouldn't eat a bug. I wouldn't eat a bug. I would just walk around and eat plants before I settle on eating a bug. What are these adaptive triggers do exactly? What, you haven't played a PS5? They changed the tension, how much tension there is on the trigger. So for example, if you're playing a game where you have to pull back a bow, instead of being able to just quick pull the trigger, you have to apply some pressure, and you feel tension in it, in the trigger. You feel tension in it when you're pulling the string back, that kind of thing. It's just an immersion thing, but all it does for me is aggravate my hands. To be honest, there's hardly any online games worth playing to keep online for. True. Got 10 minutes left, folks. 10 minutes left. We've had $40 in donations. Biggest bug I ever seen was a water bug. It made a loud crunch when I stepped on it. Also known as a palmetto bug. Used to see them all the time when I lived in Florida. Not only do they make a loud crunch, but they spray a brown liquid all over the place when you stomp on them. It's one of the reasons why some people call them a water bug. And that stain is very hard to get out no matter what surface they happen to be on. No, I don't think Gal Gadot is a bad actress. Yep. That's what I do. I've been having like persistent congestion right here for about a month. Or every so often I'll get a loogie right here and I have to cough it up. I don't know what's going on there. Getting on my nerves. Seems to happen mostly after I eat, so I'm wondering if it's some kind of an acid reflux thing. I just know I don't like it. Are you going to be an early adopter of the PS5 Pro when it comes out? I will probably have it pre-ordered as soon as the pre-order opens up. Most likely. I will tell you this. Normally, I try to buy as many versions of the console as I can for the collection, but I will not be buying an Xbox Series S. Not going to happen. I refuse. Just like I didn't rebuy the Xbox One after I sold it. I bought an Xbox One X and never rebought another Xbox One. No, water bug is not the same as a roach. Water bug is much, much bigger. They don't move as fast. And they don't intend to infest your home the way a roach can. Yes, I've put about 25 hours into Starfield so far. What do you think of the inventory management without mods to address the UI? Their inventory management is very, very basic looking, very simple. It's really bland, generic menus. You know, I've made it well known that I'm not a fan of Red Dead Redemption 2, but I did like the way that it handled store inventories where you're actually looking at a ledger that showed you pictures of the stuff that you were potentially buying and whatnot. I thought that was a cool concept. Obviously, I think that would not work too well in a game like Starfield because of how many different items there are in Starfield as opposed to Red Dead Redemption 2. But they could have done something to make it a little bit flashier than what we got. I mean, these menus are really dull looking. Pixar sequels or Disney sequels? No and no. In my mind, the only good Pixar sequel was Toy Story 2 and 3. Those were the only good ones. All the other sequels have been garbage. I don't think it's allergies. Because it happens after I eat anything, which leads me to think it's an acid reflux thing. Remember when you got called Officer 7th? I think that sounds badass, don't you think? Well, I don't really do what earned me that name anymore because I don't have access to those applications anymore. Eventually, after I got laid off by the company I was working for that provided me with those licenses, eventually the licenses wore out and I couldn't use those applications anymore. I heard Disney World and Disneyland have a bunch of MCU crap replacing old original stuff they had for years. True. More so in Disneyland than Disney World, though. Well, there is some in Disney World. They got rid of Ellen's Energy Adventure to build the Guardians coaster, but nobody liked Ellen's Energy Adventure, and it had been out of date for decades at that point, so, I didn't cry over it. Thoughts on Cars? Cars, I feel, was more of a little kid's movie than your typical Pixar film, so it didn't really do much for me. And, yeah, I'm a redneck, but I'm not a tremendous fan of Larry the Cable Guy, so. Ever got tongue canker sores? Maybe once or twice. Not a common thing for me. What was your favorite movie twist? I can't really think of a movie twist that I really liked because I usually catch twists before the twist actually happens. Like the time that I went to see The Sixth Sense at the theater and everyone got mad and threw popcorn at me because like 5 minutes into the movie I was like, holy shit, Bruce Willis is dead. And I didn't realize I was saying it to the girl that I went to see the movie with, and I didn't realize I said it as loud as I did, and it pissed a lot of people off. And they started throwing popcorn and stuff at me. I didn't mean to spoil it. It was just, I thought it was painfully obvious. For me, Starfield's inventory management is a huge drop from Fallout 4's management because of no sorting by specific stats, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's one issue among many with its inventory system. Would you return to Disney if they wanted you back? No, because I know they're not going to pay me what I'm worth. Tell me why you didn't like Red Dead 2, Redemption 2 again. It'd take too long to explain it, and we only have 10 minutes left. Go watch my review. Just go watch my review. What's the dumbest movie twist? Probably The Happening. Keep in mind, I haven't seen Old. It's been a long time since I've been willing to watch a Shyamalan movie. I think the last Shyamalan movie I watched was that found footage movie he did about the kids going to stay with their grandparents, and it wasn't really their grandparents. I think that was the last movie of his I actually watched. What was a Disney death you felt was brutal even for Disney standards? Probably the way Clayton died at the end of Tarzan, where you saw that hard snap and the lightning crashed and you saw his corpse hanging from the noose, yeah, the makeshift noose. That one was really brutal. You can just feel the bones snapping when that happens. Also, Frollo falling off of the Notre Dame Cathedral into the flames. That one was pretty bad too. When they threw popcorn, did you get kicked out? No, they didn't. I didn't get kicked out. Here's the thing, though. Later on in the movie, when it was revealed that I was right and Bruce Willis was dead, they started throwing popcorn at me again. I got popcorn thrown at me twice. I'm amazed somebody didn't walk over and spill their drink on me. Thoughts on Miami Vice? Never cared for it. Wasn't my kind of thing. Thoughts on Game of Death? The only good part of it is the last 15 minutes. It's actual Bruce Lee. The rest of it's trash. I go to movies and spoil the film on purpose. I did it accidentally. See you, 7th. Got to go watch people punch each other, UFC. Okay, Chris. Have a good night. The naming conventions of the Xbox in recent years have been the worst. Would you agree? Yes. Does PlayStation have a patent on numbers? What's going on? I think they're just trying to be different. Did you ever get an IQ test done in your life? Twice. I got one done in high school, and it was 152. I got one done in my 30s, and it was 143. And then I got one done online a couple of years ago, and it was like 139. So I'm apparently I'm getting dumber as I age. Did you like the film Signs, or did you think it was stupid? I thought it was stupid. I liked it, except for the twist was stupid. The twist about the water was stupid, because no alien race who's allergic to water would try to invade a planet that was 75% water. And no, I don't buy into the whole thing about how they weren't really aliens, they were demons either. Have you seen the Dane DeHaan movie Chronicle? Yes. I really like Chronicle. Chronicle's really fun. I think overall, though, my favorite movie of his was called The Cure for Wellness. I really like that movie. It's kind of it almost has a feel of a British horror film. And if you liked that Leonardo DiCaprio movie Shutter Island, you'll like The Cure for Wellness, because it's got kind of the same vibe, but without the twist. Has a totally different twist. Way different twist. That movie goes off the rails with its ending. It's kooky. You know, it starts out feeling like a Shutter Island thing, and then in the last 30 minutes of the movie, it just goes way off the rails. It's really fun. What do you think of Jackie Chan? I always liked Jackie Chan movies, but I never, and I liked his stunts, but I never felt that he was on the level of like a Bruce Lee or whatnot when it came to his martial arts. He just struck me more as a comedic actor who was also a stunt man, who threw a little bit of martial arts in. For me, watching a Jackie Chan movie was kind of like watching a Buster Keaton movie. Opinion on the Human Centipede movies. They're all trash. Have you seen Gattaca? Long time ago. Long time ago. I thought it was interesting, but it wasn't compelling. I thought it was kind of boring. I only watched it one time because I had no interest in ever rewatching it after that. Favorite Sega franchise? Probably Streets of Rage. Love Streets of Rage because of the music. more than anything else. I mean, it was a great beat 'em up, but not so much the music in the third one though. It got a little bit too experimental in the third one. Some of the music in the third one was so experimental that it almost just sounded like random noises for a lot of it. Opinion on the Unfriended movies. I haven't been able to get into them. That whole concept. They've got another movie coming out that has to do with the Catholic Church coming up with a way to resurrect the dead, but they don't come back right. And it's done in that Unfriended style. I think it's called Resurrected. I think it's already out. I think you can watch it on Amazon Prime. But it's called Resurrected, and it has to do with the Catholic Church coming up with some way to resurrect the dead. But they kind of like Pet Sematary. They come back not quite right, So if you liked Unfriended, you might want to go check that one out. It's on Amazon Prime right now, but it's not free. You have to pay to watch it. I like the Paranormal Activity movies. I think it went a little off the rail with the last couple, but overall I enjoy that series. And I really didn't like the most recent one that was all about like insane Quakers or something. That movie shouldn't have been called Paranormal Activity because it had nothing to do with the previous films. They just made a found footage movie, and they knew that it wasn't going to make any money unless it had an attached name to it, so they called it Paranormal Activity, even though it wasn't a Paranormal Activity movie. Yeah, I've seen all the Fridays. I love the Friday series. What's a recent movie you've watched that you would recommend? Good God. I don't know. I haven't really watched anything new lately. I've just been rewatching old movies. So, I haven't found any like hidden gems that I could recommend. No, I can't think of any. Sorry. Have you seen a British movie called Rock and Rolla? I want to say I have, a long time ago. What director and actor pairing do you like the most? George Lucas and Harrison Ford. I don't know, man. Better question. Why does Sega feel the need to spam Sonic for eternity even though they have a bunch of games they're not doing anything with? I don't know. I think they got scared after all those Western developed reboots of their games that didn't do anything, like Golden Axe on the 360 and PS3. I think I gave them cold feet. Although, Streets of Rage was brought back with Streets of Rage 4 and was very successful. So, yeah, I think they ought to have a better handle now on how to do it. Do you mean the Dawn of the Dead remake? I haven't seen a Day of the Dead remake. I saw Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead remake. It was pretty good. All right, guys. Well, it's 9 o'clock. This is where I got to say goodbye. Thank you for the $40 in donations. Obviously, there will be no 7th Cast next week because I'll be at Retropalooza. And the convention center has pretty crappy Wi-Fi, so I'm not going to be able to stream live, but I will do a lot of filming. And, I will try to get that video made and out sometime after the next episode of Trey for Life comes out, which is another thing. I will do my best next week to get that Trey for Life out Monday, but it might be Tuesday depending on how tired I am from the con. If I'm too wiped out from the con, it'll have to be like a Tuesday or Wednesday thing, okay? But anyway, this is where we're going to say goodbye. So thanks for stopping in. Thanks for watching. And I will see you guys in 2 weeks